What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show on another lovely Tuesday here in August. I guess you could call it D23 Eve, I guess, close to it. We're getting close to D23 and whatever Disney's going to announce, which we will talk about a little bit in today's show, along with some other interesting little news tidbits out there. Maybe something's coming to Hollywood, Universal Hollywood, that I think some people in Orlando are going to be jealous about. And I think that's going to be interesting. I think that could be a good discussion about how quickly they got that out there is another thing. And then maybe lighting at Epcot's getting fixed. Maybe.
Now, do you think with that whole Universal Hollywood HHN news, we're going to see a lot of Be Fair to Florida on X?
Oh, yeah. I will start that, actually. I was like, how dare you guys? I actually think you guys might have a cooler version of the Aussie house that you guys are getting to. A little bit. I don't know. It's always that thing you don't get. You're like, that looks really awesome. But I don't know. I'm excited about Aussie either way, but we'll talk all those things today, including maybe the return of a certain director coming back with all this mess in Hollywood right now. We'll go through it and talk about it. But before we get to any of that, I just want to say, hey, everybody in the chat, thank you guys for being here. I'll shout out a few people here. If I miss you guys, it's not because I don't care. It's just because there's a lot of people here. We got Kaylee, we got BinkCon Pro, we got Matt Muir, got John M. Make It Rain, got Juliet, and Juliet leaves a 5 here. It says morning simulcast with a 5 sterling pound, I believe. I think I got that right. Morning simulcast with Vash, Sky Parkcast, Captain Magic, Orange Grove 55, Skyliners, Skywatchers, and chat. So hello to you. And we got Mr. Seymour Duck in the house from the pond. Got Tommy Toon in here. What's up, Tommy Toon? Yeah, and we did listen. We got our golden cardigans. We are ready for D23. Maybe we will wear them on our next stream. We're presenting the Bob Iger Excellence Award at D23 this year, which Bob Iger is going to get. You know, we didn't make. We're just there presenting. We don't get to make the decisions around here. But
very true.
Yeah, we got Den Peterson, just a Dutch. You got everybody in here. So thank you guys for being here. Definitely appreciate it. We'll hit some of these supers before we get going as well. Before we do any of that, just want to introduce everybody to our great panel we have here. So as always, have Mr. Orange Grove 55 in here, sir. Where can everybody find you out there on the lovely, lovely internet?
I love doing this multi-channel stream every single Tuesday. It's a lot of fun. And I do want to give a big shout out actually to Gordon Grubbs in the chat. He actually has a great video out right now. It's on my community tab. You want to check it out. All about D23. Yes. Love Gordon. He's been in the community for a really, really long time. Really good dude. So big shout out to Gordon. But yeah, you can find me right here on YouTube talking nerdy theme parky stuff with these gentlemen all the time. Orange Grove 55. Also on Instagram, Orange Grove 55. And also on the dreaded X. Orange Grove 55.
Absolutely. And Freedom Seeker's right. It is Disney legend Bob Iger to you, sir. My apologies. It is Disney legend Bob Iger. I think we have it's kind of like a sir when you've been knighted. You have to refer to him now as Disney legend Bob Iger.
That's true.
You know, we got the golden cardigans, but Bob Iger is going to get his rhinestone.
Yeah, it's going to be bedazzled with his name on the back with like number 1. Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, he won't let Josh touch it either. It'll be a big thing. But we also have Mr. Vash Sky here as well. Thank you for being here, Vash. B-roll extraordinaire. Thank you for being here. Where can everybody find you out there and all your stuff you got coming up?
Yes, absolutely. So this is D23 week, as everybody knows, and for D23, the Ultimate Fan event, we should be doing something very special on Saturday. I still have to talk to that part. Let's see what they're doing. Maybe they've made an announcement already. I'm not sure. But everybody knows that the Experiences panel will be streamed on Disney Plus this time. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Might do a watch-along party, so keep up to date on that. But you can go ahead and find me at Vash Sky on X, Vash Sky Parkcast, where we do streams every single Wednesday at, 2 p.m. Eastern now? And then 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays right there. Tomorrow, going to be going over, hey, the fact that Wilderness Lodge, it was without water for like 24 hours. That's not good. And I'm sure we'll be covering D23 predictions there as well and all kinds of stuff. So definitely check us out at the Vash Sky Parkcast.
There he is.
And there will be, I believe we'll be talking a lot about the reactions to D23. I was actually going to think about doing a D23 like watch along type thing. And then I told my wife and she's like, we're going to be at Universal Saturday night. And I was like, oh yeah, that's not going to work. So I think we'll maybe Sunday or Monday do something there. But yeah, we're going to be at Universal. What is it? AP appreciation night. So they do like Friday and Saturday. So it's kind of like an after hours, but it's free. So it's pretty cool. I enjoy the fact that they do that. I don't know if they do that in Hollywood. Do they do AP nights out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually
do
quite a bit.
Nice. Yeah, they're pretty cool. I enjoy them.
Vash, I think you and I went with Theme Park Wizard not too long ago. Wasn't that an AP event that we were all at that one time? It was like freezing, right?
No, it wasn't an AP
that?
event. I think it was just a day in the park that we enjoyed right there. But it felt like an AP event because we were all APs and we were all together.
Well, there you go.
You guys had AP buttons. That's what made it special.
It's always AP Day at Universal Studios.
Yeah, it's like it's not who you're there with. That's what makes it special. That's what
That's right.
There we go.
We're also joined by Mr. Theme Park Conductor. I wanted to call you Mr. Choo Choo, but I won't do that to you. But
that's all right. You can call me.
I'm going to install a Choo Choo sound on here for you. So I want a train sound when you come up. I think it'd be intimidating and awesome. But thank you for being here. And where can I find you out there?
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be a great conversation tonight. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor, on X at Theme Conductor, TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1, every Sunday at 5 or 7 p.m. for Conductor Sunday live stream, where all three of these gentlemen have been on that live stream and will continue to join that live stream in future Sundays going forward. And we talk everything from Disney to Universal. We talk about some studio stuff in there. We talk about how many golden Guardians Bob Iger has in his closet of many, and so much more. And it's D23 week. It's going to be phenomenal. OG has been prepping me for about a year now. And he's all like, dude, it's going to be the most memorable weekend you will ever have in your life. I'm like,
let's go.
You should have shot low, OG. You should have told him it's gonna be terrible, and then he's like, "What that bad? It was pretty good."
See, I'm already messing up tomorrow's PR with the lowered expectations.
Well, I didn't want to rage bait him, so that's why I didn't say it like that.
Well, thank you for being here, and I'm guessing Bob Iger has, I'm gonna say, above 10 golden cardigans, if I were to guess. I feel like if you open up, it's like you ever seen those where like the entrepreneurs have the same outfit? It's just their closet's full of all black shirts. His are just all white or gold cardigans.
Oh no. Okay, so when he opens the closet, that the heaven music starts playing, the golden light, all that stuff.
Yeah. His AI is like, "Welcome, Bob. You are a Disney legend," and he's like, "I am."
Hey, it's Jarvis.
That was his going away thing. I need Jarvis in my home. And I'm like, just get him out of here. Fine, give him Jarvis.
He's got like a little automatic spritzer with the Prada cologne. Oh my god!
I feel like all this has a really good chance of being true, to be quite honest with you. But before we get going too far, just do want to mention we had some super chats before we even got started here. And I don't want to miss any of those. So we have a couple here. I think it's for you, OG. So if you want to,
sure.
Is this one first? Oh, yeah, this one first. Okay.
Yeah, we got Mr. Matthew Murr all the way from the UK. He's done videos actually with Vash and I. Well, with me recently and with Vash and I a couple years ago. But he says here, I genuinely hope Jennifer Hale, the main voice of Cinderella, is present at the DCA concert on Thursday, given that her tenure almost matches that of Jodie Benson. And if not, I hope there's at least, and I guess there's a part 2, right. There we go, an explanation as to why she couldn't come to prevent fans from weaponizing Hale's absence to make Disney look too selective. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm sure if she's available, Matthew, I'm absolutely sure she would love to be there. And I hope, because I know you're a big fan of Jennifer, hopefully she is there so you can enjoy. Oh, Gordon is a new member. Awesome.
Nice.
Hey, Gordon. But yeah, thank you, Matthew. Appreciate you. And I really do hope that she is there on Thursday. It's gonna be a crazy weekend. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So we'll see.
Absolutely. And then we have a $5 here from XVoot. Thank you, XVoot. The GTA 6 loved it. Is going to be the biggest piece of media ever to release. I think that's undoubtedly true. Have you played it? He said loved it like he's played it. I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to Wolverine coming out. Wolverine's supposed to come out in, I think, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Which is the same game producers that made like Spider-Man and the Batman Arkham game. So I think that'll be pretty
cool. Interesting.
I did a reaction video with our friend Candid Camper on that one. And we're Ricky in the house, by the way. We got Hey Bricky, but I did a reaction to that Wolverine game, and that thing is gnarly, man. It looks really cool.
It does look cool. And if you do a Wolverine game, it's like that is one I'm gonna have to hide my children from, because my kids I started playing the Spider-Man 2 game just to kind of, I had it free with like the PlayStation thing I got, and they've been playing Spider-Man, which I'm like, okay. But like, they're not going to play Wolverine. That'd be a little too much for them. Spider-Man's more family friendly than Wolverine many times.
Now, real quick, Jared, I just want to give a big shout out to Hey Bricky, because Vash and I did a reaction video. He did this great video on the opening day of Disneyland and how it was more staged than we know. And that video was absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, everyone check it out. It was a great, I mean, Vash, right? It was pretty incredible stuff. So
absolutely love that video. Love doing it with you, OG. But Bricky put on an amazing video himself, and we kind of break that down and add a little bit more context, and Bricky does a phenomenal job, but that one was really, really awesome stuff. So if you like to, have the historical retrospectives and go back into history and all of that, that's your video for you.
Absolutely. I do like how Bricky, he's not just like a regular vlogger. It's like, I'm going to bring my aspect, like it's almost like armchair imagineering in many ways. I do appreciate that. So,
well,
yeah.
See, it's quite interesting because Bricky is very knowledgeable about the content he produces for all of us to watch and kind of learn and understand. A lot of
good, but we do have a couple more. We got a member message here from Kiki and Luca. Conductor, cannot wait to hear about your D23 experience. And then also a member message for OG. I believe OG 55 community is full of love, if you know what I mean. Thanks for being my ambassador of Quan, OG.
We love you, Kiki and Luca. I'll see you this weekend, buddy. D23. Let's go.
Wait. And then Gordon, of course, became a member over on OG's side. So thank you there. So, all right, let's get into our first story, which is this is a little warm up here as people come into the stream. Well, everybody's probably aware that, you got Paramount, Warner Brothers, you got DC, wherever that's at, however people feel about that. And I'll let Vash do a little fill in the blank here a little bit. But Zack Snyder, this comes from World of Real. Zack Snyder's escape from New York lands at Warner Brothers. And Vash, fill me in on here. What all happened? I know you said that Zack Snyder was spotted on the Warner Brothers lot very recently.
Yes, according to page 6 Hollywood, Zack Snyder was not only spotted on the Warner Brothers lot, but apparently held a screening of John Borman's 1981 classic Excalibur for employees. And that was quite noteworthy because I don't believe he's made an appearance on the Warner Brothers lot ever since he was removed from the the DCEU and the Snyderverse and everything else, right? Obviously, that whole thing broke down. So the noteworthy thing here is that Zack Snyder is even involved with Warner Brothers at all. But that obviously has give risen to a lot of rumor, a lot of speculation as to the confidence levels Zack Snyder, I should say David Zaslav might have in the current DC universe, right? Obviously, Supergirl crashed and burned, and now it's like, okay, well, will James Gunn actually deliver the goods? The fact that Zack Snyder, though, is looking to not only, be on the lot, but might also be involved in I guess it's a remake or redo or something of Escape from New York, the 1981 classic there. So I'm not sure what that means there, but from what I understand, there is a remake in place. Zack Snyder might actually be attached to that, and if that's the case, then it might actually be a Warner Brothers film, which would be one of the first projects that he has done with the studio ever since being kicked out of the CEU. Again, a lot of things churning here.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing: I got nothing personal against Zack at all. But my thing is with DC, I feel like they need like a reboot, like a fresh start. Like just, I feel like going back to Zack, Zack,
like the fifth reboot of DC in the past 3 years.
Right? Exactly. I'm like, okay, it's like. Come on, right? Like, let's really get like a vision and get some new blood in there, and I just feel like going back to Zack Snyder. It's like, oh man, been there, done that. right? I don't know. And again, I have nothing against him. Some of his movies are great. I just feel like it's kind of like, okay, so James Gunn didn't work out. Now we're gonna go back to Snyder, and it's just round and round we go.
Yeah, my thing with Zack Snyder is if he's not writing it, it has a really good chance of being good. Because I've always think his visual, the way he shoots, is really good. It looks great on film. Writing is not his strong suit. One of the only things I'll ever give Kathleen Kennedy credit for, is she did not do his Star Wars whatever he was going to do, which became Rebel Moon, which was one of the worst things I have ever seen come across my TV screen. If he's not writing it, like Watchmen was fantastic. I did not hate a lot of his DC stuff. Now, you can blame the studio for a lot of it. Like visually and the casting, I think was good. So if you got somebody writing something and he's just shooting it, you got a pretty decent chance. But Warner Brothers has completely, I mean, if you think of the early 2000s where they were and where they're at now, it is just complete incompetence of just, I mean, you had Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Batman with Nolan, you had all these things, and now look at where they're at. Like, there's no reason Warner Brothers should be being purchased by anybody with the IPs that they have. It is just complete mismanagement of them. But with that said, like, for instance, Ben Affleck, when they first named him as Batman, I was like, what are we doing? And then honestly, I think he might have been the best Batman we've seen on screen. It was fantastic.
Well, and here's the other thing too. Right now, I don't want them making any decisions, because right now we don't even know who's going to own Warner Brothers. I mean, Paramount or I mean, don't make any decisions now when you're in this transitionary time. When you get settled in, then we can figure things out, you know?
Yeah, I agree. It is interesting because if they did, like, let's say, which I do still think that Paramount ends up with Warner Brothers at the end of the day. That, or if Warner Brothers keeps it, they just run it into the dirt and then they sell it for pieces, whatever. I don't really care. I mean, I like that scenario better, to be honest. I think that's what should happen with this stuff. But I think if Paramount gets Warner Brothers, I just don't see you. Are you going to do another reboot here? I kind of feel like Gunn would be out, and maybe you bring in I think if you bring in Zack Snyder, there is a Snyderverse fan base that would immediately come over. And if you have better movies coming out, you have a shot. But I think revamping again is just, the audience is going to be like, what are we doing here? Like, we're going to do another introduction to another Superman or something like that. It would just be too much.
So I kind of like your idea, Jared. I think Warner Brothers shouldn't sell to anybody. Just run it into the ground, sell it piece by piece.
Yeah,
because I agree with Wizard. If Universal can get their hands on the DC rights, can get their hands on the Harry Potter rights, it would save Universal, at least on the Harry Potter stuff, tons and tons and tons of money.
Oh yeah. I mean, I felt that the way all the videos we ever talked about all this stuff. I'm like, my ideal scenario is you sell this off in pieces and let these come, because this way, like, if you bid and buy DC, you are going to really be like, we paid whatever we paid for this. We're going to take good care of it. If you just get it's kind of like buying something and you just got all these things in there. Like, how much do you really care about all this stuff? I think that's better for the IPs that are underneath them, but I guess we'll see how that all plays.
Well, it's quite interesting. It's like buying a luxury car, but you use 1/4 of the accessories inside the car, and you pay markup for that.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, and actually, this opinion might differ from some of the guys on the panel, and maybe at home, but Jared, you make a great point when you say like, there should be like Warner Brothers shouldn't be bought by anybody. I actually kind of agree. And this whole like drama with like the David Ellison saying he's going to move out of California, I think that's a big reason why we don't really want to see this merger, because that's a lot of power. Because you're moving 2 Hollywood studios out of California now. I mean, and he has every right to do that. I mean, he does. But like, I feel like that's a lot of what's the word for it? Leverage and control. And it's like, I don't really like any one entity having that much pull. I mean, he could single-handedly decimate Hollywood in California by doing that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it would be better if these companies did stay standalones, you know what I'm saying? Because I do think it can lead to problems, but we'll see,
Well, apparently Ellison is signing agreements with theater chains about that 30 movie a year thing, saying that they're going to do it. which I find very interesting. I'm just like,
Well, what do you guys think about that? Because it's like, do you think there's demand for that though, theatrically?
no. If they're good, maybe, but like at 30 movies a year, how good is that? I guess my question would be the quality and like, what are we talking about? Like, back in the day, it wasn't uncommon that a studio would put out that much content, but that was just a different thing. Like you're talking like now you got streaming and plus movie theaters. I don't know. I mean, if he's making these agreements, I don't know. All this is so interesting because it's obviously gotten very divided politically and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, you're just like, I just want to see cool movies. Like, can we watch cool stuff? That's all I really want.
Well, and I was talking to Seymour about this the other day on a video, where it's almost like because Bob Chapek made the same mistake where it was like quantity over quality.
Right.
Like, why don't we just release as many movies that are just as many that you can make that are good? Like, I don't care about the number. I want quality. And that's what Chapek was doing with like, we're just going to pump everything into Disney Plus and just, just so it has a lot in the library. And it really didn't turn out great. And I feel like Ellison is doing the same thing with theatrical. It's like, we're just going to pump the theaters full of stuff. And it's like, well, okay, but.
And it makes you wonder. Some Greg here says 30 movies a year, no way it's going to be AI slop. I mean, I do think if you're putting out 30 a year, you're going to be using some AI, and maybe it wouldn't be all be AI slop, but I think a lot of the way the movie industry will go is the back end stuff is going to be a lot of AI.
It is.
Part of me wants to see it. Be like, okay, let's see what you put out. And if they put out bangers, then great. But I'm very skeptical that you can put out 30 movies of even remotely like stream, even if you're going to say 30 movies a year for streaming quality, I would have questions. Just be like, that's a lot of content. Because again, like you said, we've seen this play out before. Like quality play wins over quantity, and it almost always wins out that way, unless you're, I guess Walmart maybe. Well, but not doing that.
Well, Jared, actually, because Greg in the chat actually makes a interesting comment to what you just said, because he said quality look at Odyssey and Spider-Man right now. Just make good movies and get rewarded.
Bingo.
Again, it's kind of like the way I see it. It's kind of like a turf war, because if you're signing up to do 30 movies per year, we can all agree the movies probably won't be that great, and the movie theater industry continues to decline. More people are finding it more convenient to just stay at home, rent the movie on stream, and be in the safety of their home. It's not really, the theaters aren't pulling the numbers they used to. Granted, Spider-Man and the Odyssey did phenomenal. Both movies I saw were phenomenal, but
this year as a whole is kind of an outlier, because you're going to have a lot of movies this year that have done pretty well.
Yeah. So
well, and another thing too is so I was critical of Ellison, but I'm gonna come after my state a little bit right now too, because I do believe that California should do more to incentivize these studios to like not want to leave the state.
Yeah.
Hollywood is a big industry in California. Now, it's not everything. I don't think it's an apples to apples sort of comparison to Detroit, because California's got like Silicon Valley and all kinds of other stuff kind of going on too. But we can't afford to lose Hollywood, So I do believe the state can do more and should do more, and hasn't done enough to keep these studios in Hollywood, making movies in Hollywood. And they've lost so much ground. A lot of movies now get filmed overseas, New Zealand or wherever. And it's like, come on, let's bring it back home. And they can do it. They can incentivize, what I'm saying? They can if they want to.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's kind of like there's a lot of stuff right now. Even like you look at sports, the Chicago Bears, like they're moving to Indiana. Like that shouldn't be the case, but it's like there's just a lot of just shifting of all sorts of things right now. And at some point it's like, is Chicago smart for, like, if the Bears end up leaving, that's going to have a big economic impact on them. Same with the movie studio or the movie industry in California.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, sure, you're making concessions, but like, okay.
Well, the other thing too is that Ellison's not just talking about moving. He's also talking about selling the studios off in California after that happens in order to pay for the move. So it's not just, you're not just losing the jobs and the workforce and everything else, but you're also losing these historic sites, which isn't great. But at the same time, if 15 attorney generals are going to, try to upend, or 12, I suppose, are going to try to upend this deal, well, what other choice do you have? You have to kind of use whatever leverage that you actually require, at least if you're coming from Ellison's perspective. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with this merger either, but this is something in which you have to you have to do. I mean, it's your fiduciary duty to do, because you're on the hook for potentially $7 million a day if this doesn't actually go through, or something like that. So there's a lot riding on this.
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Conductor. I'm sorry, brother.
No, I was just gonna say, if they do go that route and they sell off the studio lot,
that's terrible.
Does Comcast and Universal take advantage of that? Because they've been talking about how they wanted to try to put a bid in for the WB merger, and obviously because of debt and stuff, they couldn't do it. But if they sell off the lot, they can move pretty much their whole studio lot to this location and give Universal the room it needs for a theme park expansion to a whole nother level.
That's a great point, Conductor. They could they could literally, you're right, offload almost, or probably maybe even their whole studio to the Warner lot. And you would free up all that space for Universal Studios Hollywood. Now I wouldn't necessarily want to see that, just because you would help the theme park, but you would really decimate Hollywood in general in California. But for me, I just, the whole thing it makes me really uneasy, to be honest with you. I just don't like it. So we'll see how it shakes out, though.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, it may get really interesting, because I don't think the Ellisons want to pay $7 million a day at that point to do that. So they may be pushed really, really hard here really soon.
Well, yeah, they're gonna bleed out money, because they're already honestly kind of overpaying, and it's 110 billion, right? Yeah. And now they're gonna what is it? Whatever it is a day, where they don't meet that deadline, and it's even more money now. And it's it's rough, man. It's rough, but we'll see how it shakes out. I mean, hopefully it works out in the end. And I mean, maybe he'll work something out with the attorney general. I mean, I know he's trying to negotiate with that. Well, I forgot the person's name, but I think he's trying to work it out, and they're not willing to budge, right? Or that's what I'm hearing, right, Bash?
The hope is that you settle before it actually reaches trial, right? I think that's the hope, and this is why I believe this I guess alternative plan to perhaps move out of the state was made public, right? He's obviously trying to exert leverage over this deal and saying, hey, look, listen, we're going to merge one way or another. You can either do it with us in California or do it without. Let's go ahead and settle this now. If there are any other concessions that we need to make in order to get this deal through, we can. But you always have to have the ability to walk away, and this is Ellison actually exerting, that control here. Which again, I don't like it. I don't like the tactic. I don't like the idea of Warner Brothers or Paramount actually leaving the state. But at the same time, when you look at where they are right now, it's kind of the only thing that you really have on the table still. I do think it would be a huge loss to California, the Hollywood industry, etc. But these consolidation efforts are certainly going on. I don't think really even 12 attorneys generals are going to be able to stop this.
Well, and how do you even maintain? Because one of the biggest things in business, right? Whether it's Hollywood or any business, right? It's relationships. Relationships are the biggest deal. We saw how bad that went with Chapek when he couldn't handle relationships. So let's just say, hypothetical, he moves these studios out of California, and there's all this bad blood in the industry he's in. How are you going to work with anybody in? You know what I'm saying? And how do you work with your peers? Hollywood's going to hate this guy, and it's going to be I don't know. It's going to lead to a whole big mess in my opinion.
I think the interesting factor in this, because I don't disagree with that, but I have this feeling AI is going to play a role that we're just not quite understanding quite yet. Like if you actually think AI is going to allow you to bypass all this stuff, like that could be what they're thinking they could do. But we have seen movie making go to Atlanta and Georgia and these other places too.
Yeah,
so
sure.
it wouldn't be I mean, moving a studio is different from filming movies in a place, but you know, I think ultimately, like this kind of reminds me of Spirit. If they don't allow this to go through, and then Spirit just goes into the ground and nobody gets it, and then the consumer actually loses out because now there's a cheap airline that's not there anymore.
Right.
This could just mean Warner Brothers crashes and burns. Now, granted, that could lead to a better scenario where you just sell these off in pieces, but it's not going to be good for the movie industry as a whole if that happens.
So I think Peter has a good idea. Should we all four of us buy Paramount and we can use that for our theme parking shows?
We can buy like a 1/1000th of it, maybe. I don't even know how that would work. Well, I mean, we can get a corner studio, like a little corner office in the.
Hey, I like that.
Room. Yeah, they'll give us the janitor's closet. We can go in there.
Exactly. I love it. But
we'll see what happens.
Scary though on so many fronts. But I mean, maybe ultimately they'll all work it out. So we'll see. I mean,
sometimes public rhetoric and private rhetoric are different. Sometimes you got public support. They're probably more than likely willing to make some sort of consolidations, but publicly they're never going to say that because they have now this has become political.
Exactly. Well, look at the public stuff with the Reedy Creek and DeSantis, right? And at the end of the day, that worked out. It was fine, right? It could be the same thing here, where it's like there's a lot of like
he froze for a second.
Unfortunately, it didn't work out. They got him. Oh goodness gracious!
Everyone, get your pictures.
You
unfroze.
There I am. I'm back. Hey, just like Palpatine, somehow I returned.
He somehow OG returns. Yeah. No, we'll see.
By the way,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we have Drunk 3PO in the chat right now as well. Enjoying the Cali parks. First time heading out to California in order to enjoy what Disneyland and California Adventure has to offer. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, he's a native to Florida, has been seen a lot in the Universal Disney parks out there, but first time California. That's pretty cool. Look, I'd like to have California keep these assets. I'd like California to keep this industry, right? But we do know as well that a lot of these studios have been moving their operations slowly but surely, at least filming wise, to other locations around the nation or perhaps even outside the country, which is no good. In terms of, 30 films a year, 15, I guess, from each studio. I do wonder how they're going to accomplish that, only because, you could see some smaller scale films, but you can also see distribution deals with, outside film product. If in fact, it doesn't all have to be produced, I suppose. I mean, I guess we have to look at the fundamentals of this deal, but technically it doesn't have to be all produced in-house. So that's a way they can get to that 30 film threshold by distributing other people's pictures. It's going to be really interesting to see how that all goes, and if in fact they commit to it, and if in fact this deal goes through. But there's so much money on the line here. Even rational thought and the concerns brought up by OG with relationships and everything, all of that pretty much goes out the window because it has to. Because now you're in the situation where billions of dollars are on the line. If in fact, it's $7 billion if this thing doesn't work out. So you got to think of that as well.
I mean, they're not going to go broke, but still, even a billionaire doesn't want to lose $7 billion. So that's we'll see. I feel like sometimes when this stuff happens and all of a sudden, it resolves and it's somewhere in the middle, as most things tend to be at the end of the day. But we'll see. I'm not going to claim to know all the ins and outs of how the billionaires operate and negotiate their deals, but we can look from the outside in and be like, well, that's what I would do, but I don't have $100-some-odd billion on the line, I suppose. So what do I know? What does anybody else know about it? But we'll see. But I thought that was interesting about maybe Snyder making a return, because I think there's a lot of the Snyder fan base, I think, would be rather happy about that if that did happen. But we will see there. But speaking of what we typically talk about, and there's a little thing called D23 happening this week, in which OG and Conductor are going to be at, and we'll have some on the ground reporting from them on this. Now, it's interesting because we've been talking for weeks about what to expect from D23, and I think all of us have pretty much been in agreement. Like, I don't think you're going to see a bunch of huge announcements out of this or anything of that nature. And Disney seemingly is also out here tampering expectations a bit on their own. And this article comes from Blog Mickey. And it says here that let's see, where do they have this segment in here? I can't remember. Okay. Well, anyways, basically Disney's kind of just tampering the expectations a bit here. I don't have the quote here about what to expect here. Now, I think from a marketing aspect, under promise, over deliver is a good thing here. But part of me actually thinks this is probably true because I've been saying, I don't think you're not going to see big land announcements, at least for Disney World, I don't believe. I think a lot of clarifying of current projects going on, maybe some refurbs, but I think this is probably the good move here is to, because we've talked as many times, the fan base wants new announcements. They want bigger and better. And you had a really big D23 last year. This one, logic would tell you, not going to be as big, more than likely.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. They're gonna put meat on them bones when it comes to the big announcements they made 2 years ago. So all the Florida stuff, you got, Tropical Americas, Monstropolis, Villains Land, Piston Peak, which, by the way, Drew posted a video. It was an official D23 video. He posted it on X. They were shipping a Piston Peak model.
I saw that.
Right? That was dope. And people were like using Grok to like clean it up. And so it was pretty cool. Yes. But here's the thing, like they're going to give us details on that. They're going to give us details on the California stuff. We're going to get a lot of Avengers, which there was some news on that. Actually, we can get into if you guys want about new technology. They're going to get into Coco and we're going to get some Pandora. See, they have to do Pandora because like Jim Scholl created a whirlwind of rumors with that whole thing with Zootopia and all that. And they're going to want to get in there and clean all that up. And they got to, hey, no, it's going to be Pandora and this is what it's going to be.
Same with Villains Land, by the way, with that rap article. They're going to want to come out and set the story straight on whatever that's going to be.
No, exactly. They're gonna want to do that for sure. So, I think we're gonna get some really cool like news on that stuff. And then I think in terms of new stuff, like new surprises, I think we're gonna get like some entertainment stuff. Maybe we'll get like a new fireworks show here, new parade there. But I am also hearing the rumor mill has really picked up on this Figment thing. So I don't know. I've been seeing it all over X today. People are really talking about that. Conductor, you and I did a reaction video.
We did
last night actually to Probably at Disney. She's great, and she's saying that she's hearing the same thing with Figment. So I mean, maybe that'll be like the big Florida surprise, right?
Which would make some sense after the last one because people were pretty angry about Rivers of America, Muppets going away. So this one, you throw the fan base a little bit of a bone. They've been asking for Figment for a while. Not that expensive. Gets you goodwill.
That's true.
I could realistically see that, especially DeMauro being in charge now and understanding kind of where the fan is. I think DeMauro has a better understanding of what the fan base wants more than Iger. Whatever level you want to say either one of them understand it, I think DeMauro has a better idea of it than Iger did. And so I could definitely see that as a scenario. And also I would just say, there's other refurbs you could see, Space Mountain, Spaceship Earth. Like it could be quite a few refurbs, but I think Figment is in play on some level probably.
Well, you have to remember back in 2024, Epcot was left behind. There was no announcement for Epcot. So there's a chance to redeem themselves and announce some stuff for Epcot, being Figment, Spaceship Earth. I don't think as far as a pavilion, I'd be shocked, but
I would be surprised.
With Spaceship Earth and probably Figment, maybe they might talk about the formerly announced or unannounced Play Pavilion. They might talk about that.
Yeah.
There's possibilities here, but I agree with you, Jared. It's going to be a lot of clarification. So that's something I think on both coasts, and tell me if I'm wrong, on both coasts, there's two major projects that have a lot of controversy due to articles. And Jared, you said it yourself. It's Villains Land and the Magic Kingdom. It's Avatar and Disney California Adventure.
Exactly. And to answer Rob White's question, we need to, or not a question, I think you just made a comment about
what's up, Rob?
Definitely need to say what Pandora is. See, we already kind of know what it is because we already have like 2 or 3 pieces of concept art for the boat ride. We have art for the land. I mean, we know what it is. I don't know why they call. See, here's the thing: Disney plays word games, and the experience thing is likely them trying to be fancy with it. You know, it's a land. I mean, we can see it on the art. You know, it's a land. But you know, Disney's gonna do all this weird stuff, right? Just like with Galaxy's Edge, you know, live your own adventure and all that. Not, you know, it's like they're just they shoot themselves in the foot. They're getting in their own way. Just
well,
you know.
I was gonna say Disney only has to explain this stuff better because they explain it well enough to begin with. Like this is their own doing here of like not really being forthright in what they plan on doing, which does open you up to other people speculating, articles being out there. And so what I'm curious about is going forward tomorrow, not as much as this one, but the next time they have a big land announcement, how does that go with him versus how it was with Iger? Is there a difference? I am very curious if there's a little bit more clarity on these things.
I think there is going to be clarity. I think so. And I want to address Robert's question as well. I think, like OG said, we know it's a land. We know there's at least going to be one attraction in there, being the boat ride. I actually said in our video that released this morning, OG, because I was
out for members, but it'll be up. Yeah.
Okay. I said in the video we did, if D23, whether it's Josh, Neil Patrick Harris, or it's Thomas Maslam, I don't know which one of the three. I don't really care at this point. If one of them kind of showed us aerial photos, like kind of what BioReconstruct does for all of us to kind of look at the construction at Walt Disney World with each park. I think if we got an aerial photo of how Avatar is going to fit in that Hollywood backlot space, I think it would answer a lot of concerns that a lot of fans have with this project.
I agree, Conductor, and I said it in our video, and this, I don't think fans are going to like to hear this, but I'm just being 100% like, this is how I feel. The Hyperion is in real jeopardy. It's basically ESPN Zone at this point, because they are using it for like corporate events and they're renting it out. They haven't had a Broadway show in there since like 2020.
Parties there, just hanging out.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, maybe we'll have the OG55 meetup there one day. You never know, right? You know, but it's like, it's ESPN Zone. They're not putting any money into it. And then we got all this stuff with the unions and all that stuff. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that shoe drops, but we'll see. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying there's a good possibility, because you can kind of tell where Disney's mind is at, because they're not doing anything with it. I mean, they're not putting anything into that building. I mean, at least with PhilharMagic, they just did some refurbs on it not too long ago. You can make the argument they'll keep that. I don't see what the argument is for Hyperion. I mean, they haven't touched it.
Yeah, I kind of, and I said in our video as well, I kind of feel I would be very shocked if they had the courage to stare down 19,000 fans in the Honda Center and say, we're getting rid of the Hyperion. I'd be culture shocked if they did that. I think they're going to pull a move like they did with Rivers of America at Magic Kingdom, and they're going to announce it days after the fact.
Oh, they don't
historically
announce it away. Yeah. No, Bash, go right ahead.
Historically, they've never said that they're getting rid of one thing or another. It's always after the fact, right? So even like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway back, almost 10 years ago now, when they announced that was coming, it was like, oh, that's cool, a Mickey ride, that's fantastic. And I think I was one of the only ones to actually say, did they say anything about the Great Movie Ride? And sure enough, that was a shooter drop. And then with Rivers of America, obviously they held off on that until after the show had already concluded and everybody had already gone home. So if in fact the Hyperion is going away, which I suppose, especially when you add in those union troubles that they're having, apparently that's the reason why Rogers the Musical actually ended its run earlier than expected. I suppose it is a possibility. It would be a crying shame to lose that, but at this point, it especially as the company puts more and more emphasis on attractions, Lightning Lane, and everything associated with it, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. My problem though is that Avatar, I think, is still so far out. I just don't think we'll learn much about that. It's really interesting, too, because according to the paperwork they just filed with the FCC, in terms of this last earnings call, they've gone back to calling it an experience, which is also very, very interesting. Not sure what that actually means right there. So, I mean, they have previously offered artwork and so forth to suggest that they're doing a boat ride, but have plans changed? Not sure on that. It would be awesome to get more clarity, but I think they're going to put more emphasis on the coming attractions that are closer to release, right? So like Tropical Americas, for example, if in fact they want that to be open in 2027, it would make sense to make a big deal about that this year, right? Because it's not going to be relevant in 2028 when the next expo actually takes place. So I do believe they might be putting a lot of emphasis on the projects that are nearest completion first, like maybe that's why they're shipping out the Piston Peak model. We know they're working on that actively. Monsters Inc., Tropical Americas. I do believe Villains Land, Avatar, those things might be more in the periphery and might not have a lot of emphasis at this show.
Yeah, I agree with you, Vash, and I think that would be the move. I think it would be a smart move to do it that way. I think with Villains and Avatar, they just have to do enough to like just cut through all the rumor stuff. Like just give us just enough where all the rumor stuff is like put to bed. And you don't really even have to do that much to do that. You know what I'm saying? And you're good, right? But yeah, we gotta hear something. And you're right, those projects are far out. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Vash.
Well, the other thing I was just gonna say too was that remember, this is the Experiences Showcase. This shares time with all of the parks all around the world, and they've reiterated as such, right? That includes Paris, that includes Hong Kong, that includes Shanghai. That also includes the cruise lines, and we have 4 cruise liners that they've announced that we know nothing about. So that's going to share some time. Lakeshore Lodge might share some time with all of this. So, this is why the temper the expectations, probably a good thing, because from what I understand, this program isn't that long. They have a lot of ground to cover. So you're probably going to see enhanced emphasis placed on stuff that's coming near term. I think there are a couple wild cards out there. Like you said, Journey into Imagination. We'll see on that. We do know that the theme for this show is going to be Carousel of Progress. So does that necessarily suggest that we get a Tomorrowland segment, given that Tokyo and what they're getting is already on the table, given that there's that rumored Space Mountain overhaul that we might get, given that Carousel of Progress is on the table, and we know that they're doing modifications currently at both Disneyland and Walt Disney World's Tomorrowland right now. So, and we know that there is an upcoming Autopia update as well. So is there going to be a Tomorrowland segment embedded in all of this? I think it's likely. The other wild card I would say, if in fact Disneyland isn't getting stuff for a while, which it isn't, one of the ways to fill that gap would be entertainment. Fantasmic is hosting its 35th anniversary next year. What better way to actually, see that in its 35th year than maybe getting an overhaul, perhaps getting a new dragon? I do think that's on the table, at least a little bit right there. And maybe perhaps, in order to do some counter programming with that, the Electrical Parade. It's possible. Not as likely as some of these other things, but it's possible.
Now, I'm really curious your opinion. Actually, Vash, you might know this. I want to ask you this because I don't know if you saw the news yesterday. Drew the Disney Dude posted it on X about the Avengers Infinity Defense, right? And how Kevin Feige was talking about on that new Disney Plus show. He was talking about how each person is going to have the screens are going to adjust to each person's perspective in the car. And people are saying that's the same as the Spider-Man thing. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought the Spider-Man thing was the perspective of each vehicle. Kevin Feige, I think he said it was more individual people that they were going to see different. Am I tripping on that, or am I? You're muted.
Yes. I'm looking up right now what exactly the quote was, because that is a very interesting distinction right there. From the description as provided by Scott Gustin, he's saying using advanced ride systems with screens that shift based on each rider's point of view. Technology, he believes, could redefine themed experiences. Yes, so that would be a distinguishment from the Spider-Man attraction, let's say, over there at Islands of Adventure.
That could be
obviously. Okay, please.
No, that could be interesting. That would be kind of weird but interesting.
I don't know how you do that. Yeah, that's
well, it could be weird. It could be interesting. Maybe using the effect of 3D in order to accomplish something like that. We know we've seen this ride vehicle being tested with riders wearing 3D glasses, so we know that there's going to be a 3D component to this. I will say, if people enjoy screen-based attractions, then the Avengers Infinity Defense is going to fit that bill, let's say.
And I was just going to bring this up, but go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to give a big shout out to Theme Park Obsession. He's in the house. Yep. And then Conductor, go ahead, brother.
No, absolutely. Theme Park Obsession, when he was out here on the West Coast, his coverage at Disney, at Universal was legendary. It continues to be legendary out there on the East Coast. He's such an awesome guy, and just the content he puts out is so amazing. And he's absolutely right with the statement, being that they won't start anytime soon until the Eastern Gateway is done. It is a blessing in disguise, though, that they are starting to rip up the asphalt 3.5 years later. But,
yes, we're making progress. We are making progress. But I will actually have to respectfully disagree with Theme Park Obsession a little bit on this. They're closing Monsters, Inc., I believe, early 2027. I think it was early 2027. Even if it's late 2027, that Eastern Gateway is not going to be open by the time Monsters, Inc. closes.
No.
So I feel like they're starting it before the Eastern Gateway is going to be completed, in my opinion, because they wouldn't be shutting down Monsters, Inc. in 2027 if they were going to wait till the whole thing was done.
Yes.
Do you think it changes the equation because James Cameron basically said he's done making avatars, though?
I was just going to...
I'm wondering about that too, Jared. That's a good question. I don't know how far along they are, because I know John Landau, his creative partner, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. He has a producer. Thank you, Vash. He had a picture in front of Imagineering 2 years ago working on this thing. So most of that work might already be done. The other thing about the James Cameron thing, people think that just because James Cameron isn't going to do these movies anymore, that Disney's not going to make these movies anymore. Well, ask George Lucas what happened with that. So, they don't need him there to make these movies, and it might even be easier for Disney to get him out of their hair and do their own thing. So
I didn't even think about that. If they would continue making them without him, that would be very interesting. But if they're going to do a land, it would be in their best self-interest to keep that franchise going. If that's what they're going to do.
They're absolutely going to make more Avatar films, no matter what James Cameron's level of involvement actually is. It's going to be interesting to see what the rights issues are connecting to that. But nothing a few Benjamins can't cure. So there's just too much invested in that. I think they want to see that franchise actually go forward, and why they're investing in it long term, with a land that should last 20, 30, 40 years, that kind of thing. But I will say, look, I will contend that I believe the parking structure work on it has begun. So we are at 18 months at minimum until that is actually complete right there. And I'm sure, if in fact the transportation area isn't going to be embedded within that, then possibly, like you said, OG, they could get to work on that Eastern Gateway right now. And as long as they have transportation services provided that bus depot, then they can meaningfully work on whatever is going to replace ultimately Monsters, Inc., which we know is Pandora with an experience.
Now, I'm from the outside looking into Disneyland. I will be going next year, so I'm gonna get to Disneyland at some point. But
wait,
I'm looking forward to it. I actually was watching. Shout out Jay. I was watching his vlogs of his first time there, and he was slowly at first, and then he was like, "Nah, Disney World's better." Then by the second vlog, he's like, "I don't know, it might be changing a little bit," and that seems to be how it goes sometimes. But I am excited to go. But Theme Park Deception also says. Theme Park Obsession. If anything, Pandora can't open until the extra parking capacity is expanded and the transportation hub can support the extra 10K guests the new lands will draw to the resort. Now, that probably, I would imagine, is true. You can start construction on it, but it's not going to open until you have the additional infrastructure.
Yeah.
That is something I could realistically see. But again, I don't know I'm not gonna act like I know the inner workings of Disneyland by any means.
Star Wars Galaxy's Edge had this kind of maturation period in which they had a parking structure built and open right before Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I would assume that they're working within a similar framework in that you do probably need enhanced infrastructure before Pandora can actually meaningfully open. I do believe, though, that from Pandora's perspective, right, we are probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 years away from that, whereas your parking structure might be as long as 3 years, but I think they would have meaningfully gotten with it, within 2 years. So that's I think that's where it's roughly placed at. Don't quote me on that, obviously, but you can kind of see just by the fact that they have to do so much to move so much and to make sure that infrastructure is in place, why Avatar is further out than maybe say Coco. And again, I think they're going to put a lot of emphasis on the Avengers and Marvel because of those issues.
Now, I want to give a big shout out real quick to Conductor, because Conductor had a great point in the video that we did together on my channel.
Yeah.
You made a great point, Conductor, and I'll let you kind of elaborate on your point. But because a lot of people are saying, why are they putting it in Hollywoodland? Why don't they just put it in the Symbol lot? Conductor, you made a great point with the Symbol lot having an issue with homes behind that. Go ahead and elaborate, because it's your point. I don't want to steal your thunder.
No. And I'm glad you brought it up, because I was actually two minds think alike. I love it. So it's interesting because where they're putting it, because I never thought about it until we did our video last night, is that where they're putting Pandora in the Hollywood backlot, it faces Harbor Boulevard and it faces all businesses, and there's no homes on that side. So being that, it's a smaller footprint than what they could probably utilize in the Simba parking lot, you would have to, you kind of think on opposite ends, though. We're probably going to get the better version of Pandora, even though it's going to be smaller, because they can do more with it. They can elaborate. They can add, if they want to do lighting effects, they want to do maybe pyrotechnics, they want to do all this extra stuff that maybe they couldn't get away with if it was in the Simba parking lot, because you have homes right next to it. Right. And those people that own those homes, they love Disney so much. Every single night at 9 o'clock at night, when those fireworks go off, they get super excited.
Hey, you know what? You can ask Universal Studios how they feel about having stuff close to the residents, because they're going through it right now with Toluca Lake. But that's the thing. I mean, Conductor, I think you bring a really good point. I think that when you put it in Hollywoodland, it's the existing park. It's next to all those businesses. It's not homes. I bet maybe that's not the only reason. I don't know, but it's probably up there with maybe 3 other reasons. But it's definitely short list of why they're putting it there. Vash, do you feel like, I mean, that's a valid point there, that it might be that where they don't want to put it over there by those homes?
There are obviously some freedoms and some flexibility afforded to the Hollywood spot over the Symbol spot, right? And we've seen the noise, I guess, calculations or visual calculations that were submitted in the Disneyland Forward packet, right? It details and lists how tall buildings can be. It lists and details what can actually be featured. It has to be surrounded by, let's say, like show buildings, for example, in order to maintain noise levels within the interior of that space. It's very detailed, right? And there is a framework, a rubric that you have to work within in order to get new projects to be established in that Symbol lot. That is true. There's no question about that. However, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think there's a lot of enhanced infrastructure that is required to get people on that side of the Disneyland Resort. And that's why they've opted to go with the path of least resistance and what's most needed, which is honestly a replacement to Hollywoodland. It's always kind of been it's always kind of been the periphery of all of these California Adventure projects. It's finally getting its due. It's finally getting meaningful investment. And I think that's why they chose this, is because they needed to develop that northern area anyway. It was already earmarked for Marvel back in the day.
Yeah.
Obviously, that fell off when Eastern Gateway didn't go through. Now it's not an inhibition anymore. They need to develop that area. It needs to be part of a multi-phase plan in order to get the bridge across harbor and all of that stuff. I think they're just developing an area that is needed, that requires development, and that offers a lot less friction than the symbol lot currently does. I think that's the idea.
Fair point.
Well, Theme Park Philosophy, shout out Theme Park Philosophy, brings up a good point. But will blue churros served with boba flavored peptide dip be announced to hold us over while we wait 7 hours in a virtual queue? Good point. I mean, it's the opposite. Listen, Christine McCarthy wanted to say that, the Disney guests need to lose weight. I don't know if Vash has that sound clip on hand or not, or somebody does, but peptides could help, maybe, healthy. You wait in line, get a churro. It could be something. You never know.
Absolutely,
the best damn churro I've ever eaten.
I feel full and healthier now. This is a great churro. Yeah, something.
We do know from Christine McCarthy that she loves to do favors on behalf of the guest, and those waistlines that she refers to, which is amazing that she actually revealed that earrings call. That is crazy. That's mind blowing.
Yeah. It's crazy too how like that era of Disney. Like so many of those people are gone now. Like it's weird. Really it was only a few years ago, and it's changed so much since then.
Yeah, right. That's a very good point. I mean, I think at D23, I'm still, the stuff that they're putting out right now. I've always look at like expect the least, but hope for the best sort of thing. I think the thing that they could go heavy on if they're gonna I guess it could be a factor of is tomorrow's first D23. So maybe even though you had a big one last time, maybe he does want to have a bigger splash because it's his first one. But I think it would be refurbs. Like, I don't know if you're going to do 3 announced at Disney World, because I think legitimately Space Mountain is one. Maybe Figment, like you're saying, those rumors are out there. And the other thing I will point out, they just announced a Spaceship Earth show for Disney Plus. Now, I don't know how you're going to make a show. The plot line of that show seems insane. It's like time traveling teenagers from the past and the future come together. Whatever. I don't know what that even means. But if you're going to feature that ride as a show, would that not then mean maybe you're going to refurb that ride? Because again, if you're talking 2019 stuff and Conductor, your point, Epcot didn't have anything last time. Maybe you see the Play Pavilion come back into play with Epic Games. Maybe you see the Spaceship Earth refurb happen. That didn't happen back when they redid Epcot. I guess it's possible. It would be cheaper and it would be something that people would be talking about, but I don't think you're going to see any new lands. I think it's going to be mostly updates and obviously a lot about carousel progress and more details on that would be my guess.
Yeah, and the Spaceship Earth thing is interesting, right? Are they going to like reverse engineer? Like what I mean by that is like they're going to create an IP with the Disney Plus show, and then they're going to redo the physical attraction based on the IP they created for the show.
I hope not with what that show description is, because that would be completely different from what that ride is. I mean, they've tried this before. I mean, you think about Pirates. They got really lucky because Johnny Depp created Jack Sparrow, which that is the whole reason why that franchise took off. But they tried this with Haunted Mansion twice. And now, man, I didn't hate the last Haunted Mansion movie. It didn't do that well. There's another one they tried too. It's Tomorrowland. They did that movie. That bombed. They've tried this before. I think they'll probably continue to try it. They also had that the Society of Explorers and Adventurers thing. That's kind of a lot of people don't even really know about it. They had that show that was going to happen in Disney Plus. That didn't go anywhere. So it may not even end up happening. But I thought that was interesting that was announced last week. And I'm like, like, do you really, have a show based on a ride that I love it, but it definitely could use a refurb for sure. Well, Jimmy D said Jungle Cruise. Yeah, they did Jungle Cruises too.
That's true.
They did Jungle Cruise, and actually, you and me, Jared, actually talked about it on our first episode of our new series about this. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when they've talked about in the past with Disney Plus coming out with original content, I didn't think they were going to get so desperate where they have to make a TV series off a ride in the park. It's like, what are we doing? For real.
Well, I will say there was a concept years ago. I mean, this was 10, 15 years ago, of a big thunder show on ABC that was supposed to be, supernatural, right? It was supposed to be set in the Old West, and this idea that this kind of, like the story goes, like a baron had gotten hold of a gold mine, right, potentially, and where that gold mine actually sits, Indian burial ground, things start going wrong, things start happening. It's a really interesting concept as a TV show that would actually play out, sort of like Lost meets maybe Once Upon a Time or something like that. Very, very interesting kind of thing right there.
Player to it or something, maybe.
Yeah. And honestly, there were concepts to bring the Lone Ranger to Big Thunder at one point, which is interesting. The only real overlay that we've received with an original attraction is really Pirates of the Caribbean. That's the only time that's reasonably manifested. And it's one of the few projects that's been approved outside of what you were talking about, Jungle Cruise, Pirates of the Caribbean, etc. I mean, after Jungle Cruise, by the way, and with all of these things, they've all pretty much failed, including the Country Bears back in the day, if you remember that and stuff like that.
Well, Vash, that's why I'm so surprised. I was even telling, I was watching your guys' show, which was fantastic, the Jared and the Conductor, but I mentioned it in the chat. It's like, how many of these park-centric shows and movies have failed? I'm just kind of surprised they're even going with this thing, right?
Well, a lot of them fail in development, and I think, honestly, this is probably going to see that as well. So I really don't see it going forward here, especially now that Alan Bergman and so many others are cutting back on the spending and cutting back on the level of investment for original programming for streaming. They're getting really the blank check is over. Let's say I think that was reiterated actually at the last earnings call. So I would be surprised if this actually goes forward. It is interesting though that they're trying to hit this well again in developing concepts straight from original IP in the parks. But I think in the short term, like Conductor actually said at the start of this, there was very little actually announced for Epcot. And we know why that is, because it just saw like a $1 billion overhaul itself, right? Doesn't make sense to announce a whole bunch of stuff immediately after the fact. But now that stuff is settling in, now that we have maybe additional investment going on in the entrance for Epcot, perhaps some of those concepts are.
Yeah. Well, and also the fan base has been really happy with that overhaul of Epcot, I would say as well, which could fuel maybe some extra things. By the way, if you're thinking, oh, what is the Spaceship Earth show going to be about? The plot line is, when a mission to avert an imminent global cataclysm goes awry, a small band of teenagers from Earth's past and future must join forces to confront a threat as vast and mysterious as time itself.
Now am I
like an Avenger movie?
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It's okay. So the guy writing this is Jason Fuchs, however you say that. Most recently co-wrote It, Welcome to Derry. He also has been associated with some MCU stuff like Doctor Strange, Loki.
That makes sense.
Listen, I don't know, but if you try and make Spaceship Earth into time traveling teenagers, I might be out at that point. I'm just like, yeah.
I'm with you. Actually, I was at the one and only time I was at Disney World was with Vash, and then our buddy Showcase of Wishes. I even told Showcase when after riding Spaceship Earth, I'm like, I love this attraction. It's like this beautiful message of like humanity, right? Like our human story, basically, right? That show sounds absolutely nothing like what the ride is about.
You ride the ride. And you go, what do you guys think about making a show? And they're like, I got an idea. How about they see some wild teenagers outside and they're like, time traveling teenagers. They're like,
kind of okay. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It steals the tagline and the storyline of Back to the Future and the Goonies mixed into one.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It kind of does.
Maybe a little Stranger Things mixed in there too.
A little bit. A little larger stakes.
Yeah. I don't know. I saw that and I'm like, I don't know if that helps Spaceship Earth's cause or hurts it, but that was very interesting last week.
I feel bad for Epcot because I love that park so much, and it just gets like the shaft all the time. Like I'm just like, and we'll talk about Epcot because I mean maybe there's some good stuff coming out. We're going to talk about that, but it's like I just really wish they would kind of get their act together with Epcot a little bit, you know.
Yeah. And really know what the park is. It's a festival park. And you notice they don't mess with the festival part. That stays pretty much the same, except adding some attractions. They don't mess with the bread and butter. They just mess with everything else trying to make that work.
Well, yeah, they build they spend all this money and they build a conference center right in the middle of the park. Well, right at the beginning of the park.
Listen, it's very homey to me. It feels just like my community college dining hall. I go in there and I'm like, I remember studying for AP math in here.
Well, and here's the thing too. When it comes to, you're absolutely correct, Jared. When it comes to like the festival culture, the alcohol culture, Disney spares no expense. I forgot what ship it was, but they got this Marvel bar, and the drink like levitates off the table. It's like a Doctor Strange drink or something.
What?
I'm like, bro, this whole little thing you're doing is probably worth more than our entire campus over here in California. Like this is crazy, right? Like, I mean, they spare no expense when it comes to the alcohol. But I don't know.
Well, to that point,
well, don't worry. They did put in a Doctor Strange show for Avengers Campus. Oh wait, they got rid of that recently. Please go ahead, Jared.
Well, I have met Doctor Strange at Hollywood Studios, which is one of the weirdest things because he's every once in a while he'll pop up. He's a roaming, not a meet and greet, but a roaming character that you can interact with. But he's not called Doctor Strange. He's called I forget what they even called him. Because if you remember, right when they got they tried to do a Doctor Strange meet and greet that lasted like 2 days, and then I'm pretty sure Universal came in and was like, "Yeah, you can't do that." But I met him at Jollywood Nights, of all things. Wow. He was just roaming around over there by the entrance to Galaxy's Edge. And so like I just met and he showed me how to do the little thing. And I had video. It was weird. It was clearly Doctor Strange, but it was I think it was called Sorcerer Supreme or something is what they called it, I think.
Disney will do stuff like this. Where they'll kind of skirt the line and kind of see where Universal calls them out. I remember they did a monorail rap with I think it was Thor or Iron Man, or I can't quite remember, but they got caught on that. And so they had to take that off, which is interesting. So they'll always do this stuff where it's like, can we get away with this? Can we get away with that? And that sometimes determines what actually gets developed, like Cosmic Rewind, for example.
Right. Well, yeah, because Universal has no claim to that at all, because that kind of came out of nowhere.
Now, I will say this in terms of D23. I do believe this expo, not to say California is not going to get, I mean, we're going to get stuff, absolutely. But I will say, I think this is Disney World's year. I think Florida's going to get more. And I think Florida, it's going to be the energy. I think it's going to be mostly on the Florida side. And I could be wrong. I have no special access, no insider information, but I just get that vibe. Like the energy is over there. I think we're going to get a lot of cool stuff here too, but I just feel like the focus is more for the Disney World Resort. Am I off base for that? Or do you guys think that's
probably, but also there's going to be a lot of cruise line announcements.
Yeah.
A lot.
I think so.
It's interesting you say that because I think I was talking to another buddy of mine about this. I honestly think they're going to touch upon the Disney belief. They're not going to talk about it for very long. They're going to touch upon it, but we're going to hear about the other ships from the Oriental Land Company and what they're developing. I think we're going to hear more about that because I kind of feel like they're going to keep the Disney Believe news for that October 7th event on the Disney Wish.
Right.
Yeah,
and possible. I think they've announced that too, that they're going to, keep the Believe stuff there. It's kind of interesting you bring up the Oriental Land Company. Historically, have they really ever showcased anything meaningfully from OLC before at any of these? Because I was looking back at my history, looking back at my notes, and I haven't been able to find it. I know that they're in the process of maybe developing large parts of both parks out there in Tokyo, but I've not seen them actually have their stuff showcased all that much at the experiences unit, only because Disney doesn't have an ownership stake there, right? Versus like Hong Kong, Shanghai. I remember at my first D23 Expo back in the day, they showed off Shanghai's ridiculous looking castle, which was just awful. But that was my experience to showcase. I do think the emphasis is going to be placed on Walt Disney World, though, large part because obviously I think they really want to up investment there. I think we're looking at $17 billion over 10 years for that property. There's obviously enhanced competition now with Epic Universe, so I think they're gonna showcase a lot there. I do believe I agree with Mike from Blog Mickey. This is kind of an off year for them just because of how these projects mature. I think we're probably 2 years out from really getting the meaningful D23 Ultimate Fan event that we've all been waiting for. And I think they've said before that with the $60 billion guidance that they have, this outlook for the Experiences division over 10 years, they did say that they were going to spend the bulk of that on the latter half of that 10-year plan, not the former. So,
which I think the next D23 is when you hear about the in-park hotel for Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, probably, or the Epcot one. And I do agree with Theme Park's obsession here. I think it's more than possible we probably will get a announcement about a Fantasmic 3.0 that might include the dragon.
Yes. Yeah. We need to. That show is in some pretty rough shape. I mean, it really is. The last time I saw it was actually a while ago. I think it was like September. It's almost been a year. But when I saw it, there was zero pyro the whole time.
That's ridiculous.
And no dragon. It was ridiculous.
No pyro, no dragon. The choreography is all over the place. It's just been having nonstop problems. I know that they've had cofferdams in the Rivers of America for like months now, which is so weird. Working on Fantasmic infrastructure, I think at this point it's being held together by scotch tape and bubble gum. This is usually the point, by the way, around the October 1st period when the entertainment division is handed its budgets from Burbank. And it wouldn't surprise me if this stuff gets approved and fast-tracked before D23 Expo, and that's when you have the big announcement for a Fantasmic 3.0. I do think we're at that point. I do agree with Dylan here that there really is no rehabbing it. I think you have to do so many substantial improvements. You're probably looking at a 3.0. That probably includes a dragon. Again, next year, 35th anniversary for Fantasmic. Obviously, it opens 1992 back in the day, so I think the timeline and everything makes sense. Again, Disneyland is not getting stuff for a while because these projects are a couple years out.
Let me ask you guys a quick question, and big shout out to Ben, by the way. He was recently on my channel. We had a great conversation, but Ben's asking Paradise Garden update announcement, right? Now, this is interesting because we have Coco that's going to go right next to this Paradise Garden area.
Right.
But so maybe they'll want to tie in that Paradise Garden food court thing to more Mexican style food, more Mexican style architecture and style aesthetically. But aside from that general area, speaking of the symbol lot, is going to have to be the entrance to the connector point to the symbol lot. It'll be somewhere around there. So they might remodel this area to tie it into Coco. And while they're doing that, sort of put the infrastructure down to kind of get that prep for that bridge that would go across. Do you think that's possible, Vash? Or do you think that's a little ambitious for it right now? Maybe they'll do that later? Or
it's really interesting you say that because obviously this, and you just beautifully laid it out, but this whole area is significant for the future of Disneyland Resort. Maybe not perhaps now, but very significant, right? In the short term, we have Coco. And it looks like that whole area, it's so weird. How did they describe it, by the way, on the earnings call again? I think they said it was like an attraction or something like that. Didn't quite say land, didn't quite say themed area or whatever. Kind of weird, kind of strange how they're doing that. I do think the Paradise Gardens area, though, because that's where they hold a lot of the Mexican or Latin America inspired events for like Christmas and everything like that. I do think that gets overhauled a little bit in order to be a little bit more Mexican than Italian as it currently stands around, or Mediterranean. But I think, though, OG, there is a possibility that you go through to the symbol lot, not utilizing that pathway, but maybe Goofy's Sky School. And if you think about it, it's a little bit more of a direct shot from the performance corridor straight up to the other side of Simba. Is that at all possible? How does I guess we have to examine the interaction between that and the Pixar Place Hotel or whatever, the Pixar Hotel.
Well,
on the other side.
It's very interesting you bring that up about Goofy Sky School, because actually Mouseward Bound put in the chat, because I was telling OG about it yesterday, because I watched David's video, and there are permits out that the restrooms that are right next to Paradise Garden and Grill, they are going to get reworked, where the men's and women's restroom are going to be one, and it's going to be a bigger women's restroom, and where that little gazebo is kind of right in front of Goofy Sky School, they are planning to tear that out and put that area as the men's bathroom in preparation for the foot traffic that's going to be coming through that area once Coco opens.
That's interesting. That is very interesting. Yeah, they're going to have to rework some of that stuff, you know? It's going to be very interesting to see. But yeah, I'm very, very curious. Now, I do want to bring up, where was that comment? Give me 1 second, guys.
Yeah,
right here.
Okay,
I'm
looking.
Go ahead.
Real fast, because that gazebo, by the way, was actually moved. It was transplanted before. It was part of the Bountiful Farms area, which is very, very interesting. That was the PT flea market when Bugs Land actually came in. That's very, very interesting. So
that's a deep cut, Vash. That's a deep cut.
Deep cut. I'm just telling you, I know my place here. Now, okay, I'm looking at this, and I'm okay. So Goofy Sky School might be a little bit too far north, only because of the proximity that it has actually to the hotel on the other side. That's obviously very, very significant. So yeah, I suppose. I mean, the Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta would be a way you can transport people to the other side. Again, though, it all comes down to, I think, what ultimately happens with Disneyland Drive. Obviously, we know that they want to maybe do something about that, de-annex it and all of that. So lots of stuff in this area, particularly because of its proximity to a big plot of land that is open.
Yeah, and I am a little bit nervous about the Coco ride. I'm not so much nervous about the ride itself necessarily, but just how it butts up against the coaster. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do about that. Like, because I feel like that noise pollution bleeding into this quaint little Mexican village is going to be kind of awkward. And,
it is,
you know, or maybe it's just because we're a theme park diehard, so we kind of think about that stuff. Maybe the average person won't care, but I just feel like it takes away the ambiance a little bit. No, I don't know.
It could, and you're not wrong. Again, it's how they're going to design it is the question, because you're absolutely right. You don't want to be riding Coco, and then at certain points of the ride, you can hear the coaster go by. That would not make sense to me. So
is that kind of why we're believing that that's going to be enshrouded in a show building?
It'll be in a show building, but I think there is going to be some sort of like outdoor courtyard from the concept art where that like kind of leads up to entering the building, and it's just kind of weird,
right?
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of hoping the whole thing is in a building, and you can kind of do what they did with like the Grand Fiesta Tour, in the Mexican Pavilion at Epcot, where you're like inside, but like you seem like you're outside, and that way you can kind of control that whole like aesthetic and like the noise and all that. I think that'd be kind of cool, but.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The old school Pirates of the Caribbean effect, right? Where you believe you're maybe outside, even though you are within a massive show building. It is interesting that I guess I thought this was going to be more of a themed area, and we were pretty confident, especially when looking at the concept art and everything else. But then the way they described it in their material filed with the FCC, it was kind of like, it was a little bit smaller than I believe a lot of us had maybe anticipated. It doesn't mean, though, necessarily, like Ben Zacuto actually brought out, this idea of perhaps retheming the Paradise Garden Grill area to something that's a little bit more Mexican oriented. That seems likely to me now looking at the plans here and really having a discussion about it.
Now, this is kind of interesting. A good friend of ours, Thrilla B, who I've done OGVD5 bar chats with. We love Thrilla B, friend of the channel. Big shout out to Thrilla. But he's saying, yo, OG, if you cross paths with Daddy Josh, will you take a selfie with him? I was talking to Conductor about this. I mean, I think there's a good chance, because Josh is a social butterfly. Let's be real. He's going to be out there on the floor talking, smoozing to everybody. So, yeah, Thrilla, if I see him, I'm taking a picture with the guy for sure. You know? For sure.
Let me ask you both this why Jared's out for a second. Being that you're talking about the bridge, Vash, going across Disneyland Drive, do we know what the RO or the foot traffic in Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta is currently? Like, is it continuously busy? Is it empty? Because I've heard speculations, of course, just speculations and rumors, that Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta could go away to make way for that bridge. It could be possible, because it's like almost like right in the way, like seriously right in the way.
Well, so the conversation on bridge and path are a little bit different, because we don't quite know what the future holds for Disneyland Drive. We don't know if it's going to be completely annexed, if they're going to completely get rid of it, if they're going to have an alternative access path or tunnel for the Grand Californian and the Pixar Place Hotel and everything that's down there. I think that is still playing out. But to your point, Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta, even when it was Pizza Mau Mau, didn't get that much business. And then when it got redone, again, deep cuts here, guys. It got redone for the 2012 redo to Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta, it's not the busiest of locations. So, that does create the question, can you create an alternative restaurant concept that's more incorporated into Coco beside it, and potentially open up that real estate in order to allow for foot traffic to actually continue through to the other side of Simba? You could. And maybe they're factoring that into their plans right now. Possibly. It's interesting, though, because there's not a lot of land to work with. And again, for every single thing that you want to put into this themed area, attraction, whatever they're calling it now, it's going to be somewhat contingent on how much land available is to work with, and how much does Imagineering want to set aside from the attraction to make way for.
Well, go ahead, Conductor. Go ahead, brother.
No. This was just another thought process I had. I know it'd be kind of, weird to do so, but what if they got rid of Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta? Because I'm looking at it on my second screen, Google Maps. They got rid of it. Okay. And they built the bridge, walking path, whatever you want to call it, kind of like what they have with the bridge for downtown Disney, and how they took the street and dipped it underneath that so it didn't seem like a bridge. What if they did the same concept here, but they built back a restaurant that's kind of like elevated off the ground, where it could still feature that Mexican cuisine, and you have the walking path or bridge going underneath it, kind of like the concept we see with the Disneyland Paris entrance with the hotel, where people are walking right under it to go across Disneyland Drive, but you still have the restaurant there, but it's elevated at a higher level.
Well, I hope they do. I hope they do some creative workarounds, like for this bridge thing. I really don't want to feel like, okay, here we go, we're going to cross the street now. You know what I'm saying? I would love to have some of your idea, like some of that kind of energy, Conductor. I agree with you 100%. Vash, I wanted to ask you, in regards to Pandora, because Conductor and I have talked about this a lot, but like, do you feel like it's realistic for D23 that they're going to give us like a bird's eye view, whether it's concept art or even a model of how Pandora fits into this park, or because this is what's going to frustrate me. They give us a model, but like the rest of DCA isn't in that model.
That's what
and we still don't really know. Like, I think fans really want to know how it ties into the park. Do you think that we're going to get that, or do you think that they're not going to touch that, in your opinion?
Well, it's possible. I mean, last D23, they did have a series of models actually showing the development process for Avatar, which was kind of interesting, right? We had not quite seen that before, I suppose. So I think there is a possibility we get some type of visualization to examine, and we can actually see how this is incorporated. But if you think that it's going to be detailed on the level of like Bio Reconstruct, for example, or some of the other visualizations that we've actually seen from fans, I don't think that's very likely. I think maybe we do get kind of an abstract model. I think we do get more visualizations of what they're going to bring to Avatar. But in terms of detail and clarity, we're just not close enough for them to, I think, to meaningfully provide that, nor do they want to. They have to save stuff for the other shows as well. So I just don't think that we're going to have the level of clarity that we want, which is unfortunate, just given how far we are from the project.
Yeah. Well, I would think, Vash, and maybe I'm wrong. I would think if they wanted to kind of make it, make sense to people, I wouldn't mind a aerial, like I said, a bio reconstruct aerial photo on how Avatar fits in the spot they want to put it in. I'm not exactly saying a model, because I would love a model. I agree with you, though. We're way too far out for, a detailed model. But if they want to do an aerial photo shot of how it can fit, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Because like I said at the beginning of the live, when we started talking about Avatar, it would answer a lot of people's questions of uncertainty now that's clarified on, seeing Avatar, seeing the surrounding area and how it fits. I think that's what people want. They want that certainty. Oh, that's how Avatar is going to fit,
Yeah, no, it's like the biggest question. I think everyone is pretty much on board with like the land itself will be pretty dope once you're in it, but it's how it connects to the rest of it. And honestly, I still stand by, and I could be wrong, I still feel like there is another shoe that's going to drop. I find it very fishy. They got rid of the trolley. That whole excuse about, we couldn't find a spot for the trolley barn. Oh, get out of here. Like, dude, they were rerouting the train and the rivers of America and flattening curbs for Star Wars. Okay. They could have found a spot for the barn. So it's weird to me they got rid of that. And it's also weird to me they haven't invested in the Hyperion, but we'll see. It might mean nothing. I don't know. But I just find it kind of weird. I kind of almost feel like they kind of know a lot of that stuff ain't going to be around or something. It's just the energy is kind of weird for me, but I could be wrong.
No, let me ask you guys this, because this is the first year of D23 in a very, very, very long time that the parks panel, other panels that people are most anticipated about, they are utilizing the Disney Plus platform to stream it as it's happening. Do you guys find that very, very interesting that they decide to go that direction this year?
I think Disney. Go ahead, Vash. Go ahead, brother. No, go ahead, Vash.
I've been pleading with Disney to put it on Disney Plus for years now. It's like, you have the streaming service, you have the ability to go live. Obviously, live content is a way to provide content of any type on your platform. The fact that it took 6-7 years to do this is absolutely insane. That should have been a thing that was done for actually the 2019 presentation of D23. I understand that predates the launch of Disney Plus by some degree, but it would have been cool to have had that integration so much sooner. They are trying we just heard at the earnings call that they're doing a deal with TikTok in order to get short form user generated content onto Disney Plus and have that be the hub. Obviously, Josh D'Amaro believes that Disney Plus be the gateway, the landing spot, the welcome mat to the entire Walt Disney Company. And I do believe we're getting more incorporation of Hulu and Disney Plus, I think next year, if I'm not mistaken. Disney Plus is a big strategy going forward, and it makes complete sense to have these live events hosted on your platform. It obviously, if you have a regular series of live events like this, it minimizes churn. I do believe more fans are invested, more fans discover what else is on the platform, and so forth. This should have been done a long time ago. Great to see that this is actually finally being done for the first time. It just took 7 years.
Well, it also plays to the Disney One thing. Like if you're going to be Disney One, I agree with you. I think this is a D'Amaro move and Iger, what do we call it? Boomerisms about, well, we're not going to stream that, because it always just came across as like you got something to hide. Like you don't want to see it live, and as big of a deal as they make about this, I agree with Vash. I'm shocked they didn't do this years ago. Although you're not going to be able to stream it because it's on Disney Plus. You're going to have to simulcast it or something along that. You know what I mean? Watch along parties and things like that. Yeah, which somebody asked, Real Ventures asked, if be covering it live. So I don't think any of us will be. Well, Vash might be covering it live. Perhaps I'm going to be at Universal. These two dudes are going to be, Conductor and OG are going to be at D23.
I'm going to try to. It's going to be interesting because they don't allow tripods or any of that other stuff because we're not privileged like that. Thank you, Honda Center, for that. You guys suck. But I'm going to try to record it the best I can. But, obviously with content after this weekend, I probably will go back and forth between my content and probably the Disney Plus content, version, because obviously theirs is going to be all pretty and professional, stabilized, all this other privileged stuff they get to do, So
I could see that.
Yeah, Conductor's gonna come over to our hotel room. We're gonna have like a little mini content house in there. We're just
gonna go powwow for sure.
What happened to the content house? Don't ask about it. You just keep it in the content house. But we might. I think Vash and I might be doing a live stream on Sunday. I know OG is not getting back till Monday from D23, but we will next week. Obviously, there'll be lots of coverage from all of us on this stuff. So we'll be on the lookout for that. But anything else you guys want to say? We got some super chats, and we'll get into our little Epcot stuff here. That's kind of interesting.
Super chats.
Let's do it.
Super chats.
All right. So we have 440 joules from Elijah M20. Thank you. This is Uncle Alert. I don't know if it's good or not. Probably not good, but I guess I am an uncle, so I guess there's that.
Caption, Jared, I saw your whole chat actually be taken over by that UNC alert. I have no idea what it is, but it's a very interesting thing to have an animation take over one of my chat windows.
I did see that when it came through. I was like, whoa, because on this end it shows it, but I happened to see it whenever I clicked over on the YouTube side, and it had a whole animation. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Then we have also Stu My Rick with 2 joules, so it's nice. 100. And then I'm not sure this one was for Mouse Ward Bound for a Canadian $13.99. Sent a super sticker there.
Thank you, Mouse Word.
Thank you.
And hopefully we see Mouse Word at D23. I ran in great people. We ran into them last time 2 years ago, and so
nice.
If you're Mouse Word, if you're there, come and say hi. Well, I'll be there with Mr. Webber.
Find the
Conductor.
Find the tall hair, and you'll see it. It sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, but I'm still not as tall as Conductor, though.
That's true. He's actually a little bit taller than me, which I'm not gonna say I like that. I like being the tallest one, but it's fine. It's fine.
Well, I'm tall, you're muscular, so there's opposites attract.
It evens out on some level there.
It does.
And Stu My Rick with 2 joules. It says sparkles. Thank you. I like sparkles. Then Conductor had 5 gifted memberships. Do you know who got those, Conductor?
Yes, I do. I actually have them on my screen. We have Tivin 301. We have Ryan. We have Cool God 212. We have KMac 10, and we have Crone 2 received those gifted memberships.
Did you say Mac 10?
West Side.
Mac 10. Yep. Okay.
I think we can only assume it is the Mac 10.
It's got to be.
Shout out Mac 10. Absolutely. Then Stu My Rick again, 2 jewels, said Silver Star. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ill Magic 94 with a 5. What is up, Ill Magic? Says Doctor Strange roaming around through a park is pretty strange.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It is.
I remember when I saw him and I was like, is that Doctor Strange? And we were in line for something else. Mark's like, just walk over there. And I'm like, can I just, because it was weird. There's no line. He was just walking and I was like, what do I do? And so like, I just went up there and I stood, it was the most awkward. I was just standing there. I have no clue if he was going to like acknowledge me. And then he came, we started talking. It was very weird. It was cool, but it was kind of odd.
You know, it's funny, Jared, because a lot of them, like my Florida friends, they find like Marvel at Disney to be kind of weird because you guys are so used to it being at Universal.
Yeah.
Like we don't have any of the superhero stuff at our Universal Hollywood. We never got like a Spider-Man thing or anything.
No.
Yeah.
So it's like it's more normal for us for Disney, but out there in Florida, it's like it's so synonymous with that Universal branding.
Well, especially with like an after hours event, like a Jollywood Nights of all things. I'm like,
no, right? That was kind of weird.
It was very weird. I haven't seen him since, by the way. He may have been in other things, but I haven't heard of him being around since. That was like 2 years ago, I think.
Wow.
Sorry about it. You were saying.
Well, I was just going to correct OG a little bit because Universal Studios Hollywood did actually host some Marvel stuff back in the day. It actually had a Spider-Man themed stunt show, which was very, very interesting. Yes, yes.
That's cool.
In the old Monsters theater that's now been replaced by Fast and Furious back in the day. Very, very interesting, but for whatever reason, Universal said, don't really see value in the Marvel brand, and they dropped those concept shops and showcases and everything else. If they would have maintained them, then they would have had exclusivity rights for Marvel in Southern California as well as Florida, but they did drop them, opening the way for Disney. Sometimes it just works out.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's wild.
And then we got another 5 from Il Magic. Thank you, Il Magic. Says, when Epic extends their parks, how cool would it be if Universal did a partnership with HBO and built a portal going into the world of Game of Thrones? Well, Tones would love it. I know that much. We were talking about before. I mean, it would be cool. I just don't see it happening because of kind of everything else around Game of Thrones in terms of like all the, the sex and the violence and the incest. Like, I don't know if that's really what you want to appeal to, like a 4-quadrant brand. Necessarily. I would love it. I think if world building in there would be awesome. I just don't think that any Disney nor Universal are going to really pull the trigger on it.
Well, to be fair though, the UK Universal, they could go the Lord of the Rings route.
I wish they would do that on an Epic too. But yeah, they could
for sure, dude.
Now, Il Magic, if you're into Game of Thrones, you should definitely check out Tones TV. He's on YouTube. He's a friend of ours. He's a great guy. Great Game of Thrones, House of Dragon content, and he's also on TikTok. Tones is literally the king on TikTok, bro. This guy is like,
run TikTok.
He's crushing it. He's crushing it.
Yeah, I let Tones down. I was gonna watch the Game of Thrones stuff. Everything's been so busy with everything. He texted me, "Did you watch Game of Thrones?" I'm like, no, I didn't get to watch it. I don't know what's going on there. But
see, he doesn't even ask me anymore because he knows I don't watch anything.
well, OG tried. We were like, "Hey, you're gonna watch Spider-Man?" He's like, "I'm gonna see it Sunday." And then listen, OG will get to it eventually. All right, it's like that's like I like that you delay the releases, and then when you finally see Spider-Man like 3 years later, you'd be like, "That was a great movie." You're like, "Yeah."
I'm gonna watch it probably. Pandora will be open before I probably watch it.
Spider-Man, I do have tickets for tomorrow, so I'm going to see it. So it's happening. It's happening.
I'm curious of your thoughts. Maybe we still do a thing talking about that because we talked a little bit of Conductor. We both saw it. We really enjoyed it. It was good.
I thought it was great. I thought Tom Holland did a wonderful job. Like,
I agree. Seriously. It was the best acting I've ever seen him do in a movie, undoubtedly.
Sure.
And then we also had 250 jewels from Water Autism, Laughing Disco. What is that?
There we
go.
Thank
you very much.
Can I ask you a question, Jared? A little inside baseball thing. Sorceress was asking me why she can't send jewels to my channel. Do you have to is there an approval, like you have to activate it or something, or?
I don't know. They
Okay.
just started showing up on my side like a couple weeks ago. I'm guessing it might be one of those things where they like roll it out kind of slowly to channels, maybe.
I think I have it because I've gone them before.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. They
I'll look
did
into it.
send a updated terms that you have to agree to. I accepted them today, but I don't think that I've been getting jewels before then, so I don't know. It may just be one of those because for a while I was seeing other people get them and I wasn't, and then they were just popping up.
That's
so
weird.
I don't, as far as I know, I don't think there's anything you have to like approve on your package.
No, I don't think so either.
That's interesting. All right.
Yeah, Reventure says he can't send it either. I don't know. I did find out one jewel is a penny. I did find that out. So I think it's kind of like I think Twitch has something like that. Like
they do.
Or like Kick does too, I think so. I think it's kind of a copy thing of theirs, but I'm not really sure. By the way, thank you guys very much for that. All right, let's move on and talk about. I find this interesting because I have seen this firsthand, and it looks awful in person. And I've been wondering how long it's going to take them to finally fix this, and maybe they're doing something about it. Which is the fact that Disney might be finally fixing or removing the in-ground lighting at Epcot. Now, if you're not aware of this, they, as part of this World Celebration area, when they unveiled it, there was in-ground lighting. And when it works, it looks pretty cool. But ever since the day it's opened, there have been issues with this because of, Vash will have more of a backstory to this, but essentially the story goes, they installed this. They may have not relayed how this is supposed to be cleaned and maintained. The maintenance crews were power washing the area, which broke the barriers on this and messed up the in-ground lighting. And it has been an eyesore. And I'm talking in person. I don't have any pictures in person here. I'll see if I can find some. In person, there are pieces of plastic that are sticking up. The last time we were at Epcot, there was 4 different areas that were sanctioned off because it's tripping hazards. There are concrete screws in the plastic with holes there because it doesn't hold. It looks awful. And this has been going on for at least two years at this point.
Yeah.
And so it's like, at some point, are you going to do something with this? And apparently they now have planters up. Rolling barriers now block off half the World Celebration Center planter. The barriers arrived after years of issues with the area's in-ground lighting. Yet it is unclear whether this signals a permanent fix or removal of the lighting or something else entirely, which I have theorized if they can't get this to work, they may just get rid of it altogether.
Yes.
And just leave the white lines there. Now, Epic had some issues, but I think that was related to them redoing some of the lighting packages for Celestial Goodnight, because I think those are now fixed. So obviously, Universal's figured out. Epcot years ago figured this out with the fiber optic lighting they had there, which worked until they got rid of it. I find this interesting. Do you think they're going to fix it? Do you think they're going to get rid of it? Like, why else would they block this off if they're not going to finally maybe do something about this?
I think they're going to tinker around with it, because when I was out there in March, I actually had a different experience altogether. I saw the screws in the light strips. I did see that, but my experience was totally different. Being in that area at night, there were certain sections that were brighter and certain sections that were either dim or not lit at all. It was the weirdest thing. And I'm like, what in the hell am I looking at? So believe me, I get it. I personally think they're gonna keep playing with it, but I agree with you. If they can't get it together or whatnot, like, look at that. You're telling me that's not
well, and like right here in person. So I can tell you this. I'm pretty handy with stuff. So when I saw this in person, these are concrete screws that they have into this, which are not going to hold plastic. Those are not drilling down into concrete. And also, when it gets hot, plastic expands and it moves past the nails or the screws. Yeah. So there's multiple ones where it looks like they've taken white out and covered up some of the screws to put in new screws nearby. It looks and OG, you pointed this out. This is the definition of bad show. Yeah, because sometimes this doesn't even work, and this is a brand new area of the Epcot overhaul that you cannot get the in-grounding to work. Now, I know Vash has some backstory to some of this, which probably explains some of it, but even right here, it's scuffed. Now, the scuffs can happen, but like, you've got just multiple holes in these, and this is the quote unquote fix. It looks as bad as you want to say that some of the things at Disney look, and sometimes it is, and theme parks in general. There's duct tape on Tiana's in Disneyland that's been spotting things. This to me is egregiously bad. How this has been,
it's real bad.
It looks like me trying to hang a picture on the wall. I got like 4 different holes, but at least the picture covers the holes.
It's like I don't have a stud finder, so you just nail it until you find one. I had to do that. My daughter got this chair that hangs from the ceiling, and I don't know if you know this, but stud finders don't work that great on ceilings that kind of have that ridges on them. Yeah. And so I kind of had to take a really skinny nail until I found a couple of I'm like, okay. So but like, I'm not also running a multi-billion-dollar theme park. No. But, yeah. I don't know if Batch is here or not. When Batch, if you're not in here, he does.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah. I just didn't want to interrupt your amazing intro right there.
Right.
What's most interesting about this is that this saga has been playing out actually since December of 2023. So we are almost on 3 years at this point. Obviously, when they opened this area in December of that year, everything was working. And then almost immediately they had started having issues. And as you beautifully pointed out, it may have been from pressure washing. This was actually a report brought forward by Mickey Views back in the day. So shout out to Brayton right there, doing some amazing stuff within his sector of the Disney sphere. And so, yes, pressure washing may have been the thing that ultimately undid at least the functioning nature of these specific in-ground lighting concepts brought forward by Imagineering. Now, the other thing that started to play out was it wasn't just about its function. It was also about, with some of those quick fixes, let's say, to try to get these back to working order. That's when they had these kind of caps added and so forth, trying to mitigate those pressure washing issues. And that's what's actually starting to rise up here, as has been beautifully documented by Blog Mickey back in the day. Showcasing all of this stuff. Just crazy how this is still kind of a recurring issue that they haven't meaningfully addressed this. I know, I believe back in like December of 2024, a lot of people were reporting that it had been restored, but maybe not with the same amount of, let's say precision, as what you're seeing right now. This is the footage from December of 2023 when these were brand new, right off the lot right there. A lot of the transitionary effects weren't working 100%, even when all of the LEDs were illuminated, and people started to notice that it just wasn't quite that December 2023 amazement that they remember. Now, what's very interesting is that Imagineering has continued to put focus on this with Geo 82. You'll remember that Sachi there with her famous shape language clip there, as everybody is probably has heard at least once. She made a point that when you look out the windows there at outside of Geo 82, that the walkway and that the pylons there and everything would synchronize for various productions, for shows, for Luminous and all of that. So I think they still want this to be a very let's say like holistic experience here for this area, but obviously this just hasn't worked, and all of the quick fixes simply hasn't gotten the job done. It's been very embarrassing, especially to see something like Epic Universe actually install in-ground lighting, able to fix their in-ground lighting in preparation for Celestial Goodnight. Now we believe that is working consistently, although I haven't heard a reporting as of like most recent. So if anybody actually is in the chat can correct us on this, feel free. But this is something where Epcot did have in-ground lighting. They had fiber optics for years, worked consistently. And for 3 years, we've been dealing with an area that is very subpar at best. And its best defining feature hasn't worked properly in all that time.
Well, what makes it worse, too, this sits right in front of the Walt statue.
Yes.
The streamer statue. And then what Walt sees from his point of view is these horrible malfunctioning lights that look terrible. I mean, you can see right here. There's Walt facing the way. You You got G23 there. I mean, it is the definition of bad show. And I think if you went to Home Depot and find a couple old heads in there, they could get this fixed in an afternoon. I just, it's such a weird thing because like in-ground lighting is not like it's brand new. Like it's not like cutting edge tech. Well, I mean, people have synchronized lighting for Christmas decorations in their homes every year.
Exactly. And as I have a picture on the stream, if you look on the West Coast at the Avengers campus, they have the in-ground lighting with the lighting package at night. So explain to me how the West Coast can get it done, being that it's Disney, but East Coast can't get it together. The hell?
Well, I will say this did have problems initially.
It did.
And they were able to overcome them, and they put out. I think that there was an issue with like scooters and wheelchairs going over this, applying too much pressure in some areas. They had some cracking, I believe, initially, but they were able to work all that stuff out. It does work consistently, so that does beg the question, Conductor: why can't the East Coast figure this out? Now it's very interesting as well. In my research, having covered this extensively over there at that Park Place, now Vashkai Park Cast, and now Theme Parkin, throughout that time, there was an X post by somebody who suggested that they were part of the company taking the initial bid in order to perform this work. And apparently their company declined because they saw the Imagineering's blueprints for this, and they felt that this wasn't going to work long term, and that this wasn't a great reflection on their company or firm maybe doing this work. So they declined to actually take this up. This bid that Disney was actually offering right there, which is very, very interesting because this has had consistent problems ever since day one. Was it because of the initial installation? Likely. That likely is the case.
Well, and if you look at too with this thing is, it's funny to me. I mean, granted, you do have the weather in Florida, which is much more harsh than California, so that could be a factor, especially like if those seals are broken. But this area of Epcot is so weird to me because you also see some of this B-roll. They put these like concrete tables and benches where there is no shade, like none. Yeah. And the idea here was this is a place where people come to work and hang out. And then sure, when you're in November through, I don't know, part of May, that could work. Nobody is, when you go in here in the middle of the summer, there is nobody sitting in these chairs. By the way, they are metal chairs in here. So this whole area is weird. And this is what replaced the Fountain of Nations.
Yeah.
Like, he lost the Fountain of Nations for a in-ground lighting that can't work, a Walt statue, which I love the Walt statue. But like, I just feel like this entire area is a downgrade as part of the Epcot overhaul. And
rest in peace, Fountain of Nations.
Yes. No, absolutely. Now, I want to, what is the deal? And it's not just Disney. Universal has been guilty of this too. What's the deal with the Florida parks and no shade? Because Epic has the same problem. I don't get it. Like, why can't they build like shade structures or put more trees? It's like they're so anti-shade, these companies. I don't understand it.
I don't get it.
I don't either. I mean, well, I will say, even Epic has more shade than the Universal Kids Resort did in Texas. That was aggressively unshaded.
You got heat stroke from it, basically, right?
It got close. I luckily caught it in time and downed some water. But yeah, it was 105 that day, and just like the sun is just. I felt like I should file assault charges against the sun that day. It was that bad. But like, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, please. Well, it's also so weird because Epcot used to be almost entirely indoors when it opened in 1982. Yeah. That's kind of the ironic thing about it, is that it's the shade and interior spaces have actually lessened over time, which is very bizarre, very strange. But I think it's a combination of factors, right? On the one hand, you do have some maybe California firms, California people doing a lot of this design work, which is just a different climate. Obviously, even the Imagineers, when they were doing initial work for Magic Kingdom in 1971, there was no shade structure over big portions of Haunted Mansion's queue, for example. The teacups didn't have a shade structure back in the day, and they eventually got one, of course, because of the rain and so forth. So I think the other part of it is too money, right? It takes considerable amount of funds to do shade structure. Obviously, every single interior space has to be air conditioned and so forth. And so it's those long-term costs that I think Imagineering is faced with, or some of these design firms are faced with, and that's why they don't actually go forward with a lot of this. I'm not saying that's a reasonable excuse. I'm just saying that that's the reasons, which is why this is probably happening.
Yeah. Now here's an interesting theory. I want to kind of throw at you guys in the chat as well. At malls, like my local mall has been systematically removing benches. Now they do that because they don't want you sitting. They want you walking and shopping, right? Is this a move? If you put a bunch of benches outside where it's like slightly uncomfortable with the heat or whatever, rain, what are you doing? You're forcing people inside. And if you're going inside, it's going to be probably either a food service thing or a shop.
Right. I've often wondered if there is some sort of formula that they have figured out about that, where they purposely do that, because that would make a lot of sense, in my opinion, if that was the case. I think there might be something to that. I mean, in this area too, then you go over to where they have this Encanto show near the Communicore Hall.
Yeah,
that thing also having no shade. We went there the opening day of it because of the Encanto show. The sun, when I say it was like on you, and for Florida, it felt like the sun had just dropped down. It was like right above you. It was ridiculous. They have added some umbrellas and things there, but like I was standing there being like, how in God's green earth did you design this for Florida and not put a shade structure up here? Because everybody, the performers, the people watching, were just, and it just seems like a lot of this stuff is designed in California. Nobody steps up to be like, hey guys, Florida is really hot in the summer. Maybe a little shade or something here at certain angles would be great.
But here's the thing though, and I could be wrong on this, and correct me if I am, but like the California theory definitely makes sense. But then what's with Universal? Because they're based out of Florida.
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a very good. I mean, I guess you could say a new park. I don't know this. I didn't go to like Epcot and things when it first opened, but I would imagine a new park has its issues, because I wouldn't say the same thing for like Studios or Islands of Adventure. Now, I would say World Showcase can get really hot, but you can duck into pavilions and things, so you get some relief in there. It maybe, like Vash was saying, it probably ultimately comes down to cost. They're just looking at this being like, well, what are you going to do? Like, at the end of the day, it's like, do you remember being hot, or do you remember what you were able to experience? And I guess they're maybe betting on it's not worth the money they would spend, that eventually this issue gets fixed over time with tree growth and things like that.
Yeah,
I would love to know, because I think that you're just setting up guests for a really miserable experience in the summer. And especially these parks are struggling with attendance in the summer. You would think this would become quite an issue that they would want to relieve, but it seems to go in the opposite direction.
I contend that that's one of the reasons why people are opting for other times of the year in order to visit Florida theme parks. It's because this lack of emphasis on shade, this lack of emphasis on AC. I've heard multiple reports that, hey, people go back and they say, this interior wasn't as cold as it was before. I understand that there are some energy initiatives that Disney implemented back in 2012, actually, that might actually offer some insight into that specific issue right there. But when your shade structures, when your interior spaces have to be built to such a degree in which they have to prevent from hurricanes and the harsh weather reality as it exists in Orlando and so forth, obviously that puts an enhanced emphasis on cost. And it's not just the cost of installation, it's the cost of upkeep as well. This is one of the issues that Disneyland Paris has. They do have a lot of shade structures and so forth in order to contend with when it rains, when it freezes, all of that. But because of all of that, it is an ongoing cost they have to maintain in order to have all that infrastructure in place. It's just, I think it's a combination of factors, but I think cost is one thing. I think where these design firms originate from, them being California based, is the other side of that. And I think Universal, I think they're trying to maximize, get the best bang for their buck, especially when it comes to ROI, especially when it comes to ongoing investment. And that's what we've seen. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be the case. Obviously, Universal Kids should have a lot more shade than it does. That's one of the big problems that park has been built with now. And Epic Universe, I think a lot more interior spaces would have rounded out that park experience. Unfortunately, that's not what we see. Even with Epcot, right? It had so many interior spaces, and so many of those have been removed. Why? Obviously, there's a reason.
Yeah. Well, see, like OG said, the whole shade issue. It's not just Disney; it is Universal as well. If you look at the new Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift Coaster in Hollywood, one of the things I experienced going through the queue, because I would say about 98% of the queue is outdoors, very little shade. Like there's one point where it kind of overlooks part of the track and there's like a roof structure, but the other 90% of it, there is these little flimsy kind of like flag.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell you call them. They're
like those little triangle things.
Yeah, they're useless.
Yeah.
And it has no shade. So when I was there a few weeks ago, I felt like Jared when he was at the Texas park. I was ready to faint, dude. It was just rough.
It's brutal when when you're walking in a park all day, the sun beats down on you. It's tough. And I'm surprised that, listen, I'm not even kidding. This was this is before we had kids, probably 10 years ago. My wife and I were at Disney. On the same trip, we saw 3 different people at 3 different spots literally faint from getting too hot. People just all of a sudden just falling down, and like one lady hit her head. It was bad.
Oh my
and
God.
So you would think because of that, and I think somebody brought that up as well in the chat, Carter Daly. I mean, at some point it becomes a health and safety issue.
Yeah.
When you just don't have shade structures or any sort of relief from this stuff. When you're talking like the multiple times this summer in Orlando, the heat index has been like over 110. Like if you're not used to that, as many people that go through those parks, that I guarantee you they're not working out every day. They're not doing a bunch of cardio. They're not used to walking around parks all day in that heat. I mean, you're just asking for people to have a bunch of problems.
Most of the calls for. Oh, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Jared, you have a park where the sun's going to be beating down you all day long, excessive heat, and they're pushing alcohol. What could go wrong, bro?
That's totally not a diuretic, and you just sweat it out. Not all.
Come on, right?
Most of the calls for Sip Tot Fire come in for heat-related issues, and it's been an ongoing problem. And yet, for some reason, management does not want to change this paradigm. I don't know why, but I will say though, Jay, we talked about Drunk 3PO earlier, and how he visited Disneyland and Disney California Adventure for the first time over the weekend. Very, very cool. One of the things he did remark on, OG, to your point, was how much seating was available, strewn throughout Disneyland and Disney California Adventure, as opposed to the lack of seating, relatively speaking, that the Florida parks and their guests are accustomed to, which is very, very interesting, that differing dynamic there.
It is weird. Yeah, it is weird. I don't know. We'll see. But the tree thing is interesting too. I don't disagree with people when they say, okay, these are baby trees, they're going to grow up. But so we need like 9 years of suffering to
do something. Yeah, do something in between. 100%. Well, and Ben brings up a good point. Overheating is one of the leading causes of death, and it's never really spoken about.
Yeah.
So I used to be a personal trainer. I played sports my whole life. There are pro athletes that have been in training camp, not as much anymore, but back in the day, that died from heat stroke. Even well-conditioned people, like it is one of those things. And and I knew well enough when I got hot, I wasn't bad. I remember I sat down and I was like, I don't feel quite right. And then I remembered I stupidly didn't drink enough water that morning because I was just traveling and you're just out of your element. Because normally in the mornings I drink a bunch of water. And I was like, oh, okay, I need some water. And I just sat down and was like, I'm not getting up till I have to pee. And I just drank like 6 things of water. There was those freestyle cups. And then I finally had to pee. And I'm like, okay, I feel better. But like, if you don't know your body, it can come on you so quick. And by the time you need help or you feel it, sometimes that's the point where you do need medical intervention. Because like for a split second, I was like, am I going to have to get a freaking ambulance called for me? Like, son, and I literally thought I'm never going to live this down on the internet. I'm like, oh my gosh, as much as I've told people to drink water, I didn't follow my own advice sort of thing. But but like that's just the thing. Like if you're not used to, if you don't know the cues, it can get you very quickly. And I'm not surprised to hear that that's the most common call that these fire departments have it around Disney or even Universal is for stuff like that. As many people that come through those gates.
It's scary. It's scary. Yep.
But hopefully they are going to fix this. Hopefully those barriers are up because they're going to address this. Even if they get rid of it, I think that's not what you want, but it's better than this, which I would say is bad show. At the very least, you put something here that it's not a tripping hazard. It's not for Disney. They don't want people coming in their parks and checking on the faulty in-ground lighting and reporting on it. That has to be something that they just don't want. So even if it's not something that is as good as what it was, at least it's not a headlining story that people talk about endlessly about the failure of the in-ground lighting.
Well, and plus the whole like the whole mission statement of Epcot is like optimism of like, the future. Yeah. And you have this thing like falling apart. It's just like, come on,
right in front of Walt, right in front of me.
I will say, and there's I think a tweet that I sent you. If in fact you do want to put it on screen at all, Jared, you don't have to. But Phi Bell Phi on X was reporting that the lighting around the Epcot entrance had been completely fixed. Obviously, that had some issues, so they've been doing some work there. The problematic lighting on both restrooms, which has been malfunctioning for well over a year, is turned off currently. All of the lights on Spaceship Earth are now functioning, and the lighting towers look perfect. Again, this is from Bell Phi right there. It's very interesting. It does look like this entrance corridor for Epcot has been a point of emphasis for maybe Imagineering or maybe some work by maintenance technicians in order to rectify some of these issues. So I think it is encouraging that, with this $1 billion overhaul that Imagineering says, and at least internally, is so great. They haven't they haven't forgotten about this area, which is good. I think if it wasn't a tripping hazard, potentially, we might not see much in the way of some work here, which is unfortunate. It's just kind of the way it goes, I guess. Because I say this because Tomorrowland and its wall, again, it's been going strong for 7 years, at least at Disneyland, and one of the reasons is because it's out of the way. I think this, though, made such a strong impression, and I think they really want to get this right, that the fact that they are blocking this off, I think is a good thing. Whether or not this fix will be the fix that we've all been waiting for, well, we'll have to see.
Now, real quick, speaking of Tomorrowland, Bricky, and I was going to bring this up earlier, and I forgot, but because we were talking about D23 and announcements and stuff like that, but Bricky had an interesting theory on one of his recent videos about Tomorrowland. And conductor, where Magic Kingdom, they're systematically going through that land, whether it be Carousel of Progress, Buzz Lightyear, they added Tron, right? Systematically going through it. Bricky was saying that he thinks, or maybe potentially, Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland will be the Walt's Tomorrowland, where it's like we're going to have the People Mover, Carousel of Progress. They're going to lean into the Tomorrowland of the Walt era, right? Disneyland's is going to be like the bulldozed, and we're going to reimagine it in a very drastic, dramatic way. And that's why they're not really going through each thing and kind of like sprucing these things up. There's maybe more of a plan to like bulldoze and rebuild there. And the Florida one will be more of the Walt era, thing. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting theory though, right? Because there's two very different approaches to each Tomorrowland. They're not even touching the one in Disneyland, but the one in Florida, they're going through multi-year, but go ahead, conductor.
I kind of feel, okay, this is the thing with Tomorrowland, being that every single Disney park, and Vash or OG, one of you guys correct me if I'm wrong, each Disney park has a Tomorrowland. And one of the things I like about what Bricky was saying is being that what OG said about the Magic Kingdom version compared to what we could see with the Disneyland version are going to tell two different stories of what the future of tomorrow brings, which I like that. I like the fact that, I can have a bucket list and say, I got to go visit Magic Kingdom. I got to go visit Disneyland. I got to go visit maybe Disneyland Paris. I got to go visit
and make them different.
Exactly. That way it tells a different story per location, and I do respect that. I think why they're still not touching our Tomorrowland at Disneyland and they're touching the one in Magic Kingdom is at some point once they update all these current attractions to where they want, I think that at that point going forward is when they are going to make the big reveal about Tomorrowland at Disneyland, because I would want to think they're gonna wall it all off. Pretty much, I would say about 98% of it, if not 100% of it's gonna be torn out and rebuilt from the ground up because it needs it. Bricky has stated so many times throughout so many videos how they built Tomorrowland back in the early days is so kind of like step stool, how they built it. There's no way to fix it properly without ripping it completely to the ground and starting over.
You're right, conductor.
Codes too. Go ahead, OG.
No, you're absolutely right, because our Tomorrowland is so interconnected with that people mover going through literally every single building, and then we have a total and complete mess over there by the Submarine Lagoon. You have the old people mover track, the subs, and the monorail weaving in and out of each other, right? And so it's just a whole big, they call it the spaghetti bowl. Yes. But like you have to literally go in there and just bulldoze huge swaths of this land. You literally, I don't even think you literally could even do the patchwork approach.
Save it. There's no way.
There's no way.
Well, there's a similar problem in our Tomorrowland too, where apparently one of the things that has been speculated, and there's been some rumors that the reason Stitch's Great Escape is still unoccupied is for that same reason. All those buildings are interconnected, and if you update it, you have to update to the current building codes, and they would have to go in and basically tear the whole thing out.
Yes.
And maybe they'll have to at some point, but they just haven't had the desire to do it yet.
Well, Jared, I think we talked about it on a theme park in the episode in the past, that with the Great Escape with Lilo and Stitch, or with Stitch, and then even the laugh floor, when they built those two attraction shows, if they went in there and remodeled both of them, they have asbestos in there, which the one the side with the Stitch literally butts up against the restaurant that's right next door, and they would have to close that down in order to do all this.
I've heard that's the big problem, is it connects right into Cosmic Rays, and Cosmic Rays is the busiest quick service in Magic Kingdom.
Oh, it is.
And so now they're like, well, we don't want to do that. So at some point, I mean, you can only kick the can so long. How are we going to keep Stitch open where nothing's there? Like, your first impression of Tomorrowland at Disney World is a closed attraction for almost 10 years and Monsters Inc. laugh floor. I'm like, that's not really the most Tomorrowlandish thing I can think of.
No.
So I do, I do hope, and I would like differentiation in the parks. I would like that. I would love for Disneyland to be different, because I think that does lead people to be like, let's go look at the other ones, gives each park a little bit personality, different aspects. I really hope that, and I think partly from what you were saying too, OG, I wouldn't be shocked if Disney kind of comes out and really says, like, Disney World is the, I don't know if they openly say it, but like, we're really putting a main focus of the company on Disney World. I think partly because of the competition going on with Epic Universe, and just the tourism in Florida is continuing to grow. I don't know if tomorrow would come on stage and say that, but I think you will see if they're fixing the ground lighting in Epcot, if they're going in and doing a lot of these things that people have been asking for, whether or not this is tomorrow initiative or not, it makes a lot of sense why they might do that as they're competing with Epic and Universal, and being like, what are areas we need to do? Well, we need to get a lot of these areas at least brought up to current levels while we build out this stuff, because it's going to seem really weird if you've got these new lands, Villains Land and Cars Land and Magic Kingdom, and then Tomorrowland is just a weird catch-all for random attractions, and you got Tomorrowland Speedway. Like, it's just going to seem weird if you've never been to Disney before. What is, like, how does this make any sense?
Well, I want to touch upon theme park and things comment when he said it's not happening anytime soon, meaning the remodel of our Tomorrowland, and I couldn't agree more. I think their goal is to just kind of keep kicking the can down the road until maybe 2028 or 2030, because they want to wait and try to get these projects almost completely done at DCA. Avatar is obviously not going to be done in time, but Avengers Campus, then you have Coco, you have all the stuff happening in downtown Disney with Portos, the Eastern Gateway, the bridge going over Harbor. You have all sorts of other projects. Once those projects are kind of, finished to a point, I think that's when they're going to announce the Tomorrowland, basically reimagining, and that could be 2028 or that could be 2030. I do agree with theme park and things, though. I seriously doubt they're going to talk about it at this D23, even though we saw what was the Imagineer? What, it wasn't Joe Rohde, was it? I don't think it was a video that was posted on social media years ago where it was showcasing him removing, or one of the Imagineers removing, the Star Wars launch bay out of our Tomorrowland. Like,
yeah,
that's the model of. Oh, go ahead, Bash.
It was Rhodey. It was Rhodey.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. I don't think they're going to touch upon that right now. I just, it would make zero sense for them to do that.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, when it comes to substantial investments, I do think you're correct. I don't think we're going to see substantial investments actually made in either Tomorrowland for the foreseeable future. I do think it's going to be a little bit more piecemeal, at least especially out there in Disneyland. I do think there's a good chance we get a Tomorrowland segment in this D23, going over Carousel Progress, going over Space Mountain, going over Tokyo's investments, and all of that. Maybe Disneyland as well. Disneyland was supposed to be getting a reimagined Tomorrowland. It was on the schedule for 2019. It was dropped, unfortunately. That's why we have the wall, famously, for all this time. It was supposed to be part of that. Just unfortunately, nothing ever manifested from that, which is unfortunate. But I think in if you look at Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland, I think they are in the process of getting some pretty good reimaginings, especially when it comes to the removal of the ray gun architecture, when it comes to Carousel Progress, Buzz Lightyear, Space Mountain, all of that. For Disneyland, we're going to have to wait just a little bit longer. I do think that entrance, I think they do want to reconfigure that at some point, but more meaningful change, like maybe the removal of Star Wars Launch Bay, maybe the replacement of various aspects of the Spaghetti Bowl and all of that. I'm just not seeing it, at least currently.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, right? Because a lot of fans complained about the blue sky stuff with D23, and I agree with that. I mean, you don't pay all that money to go to D23 to hear a bunch of maybe what ifs, right?
Sure.
But here's the thing. I think that there is a place for that kind of thing with certain projects. Okay, so let's say, for example, we're at D23 and we get a ton of information on Pandora and the Avengers and the Tropical Americas and all these projects. We get all this information, really meaty, substantive stuff, right? And at the very end, we have 2 or 3 blue sky, like, hey, this is stuff we're considering that's further out. Like maybe Disneyland's Tomorrowland. This is something that they're honest with you though. And they tell you, look, you know what? We're not going to start on this for a while, but this is something that we're eventually going to do, maybe 8 years from now or whatever. And these are some renderings of kind of what we have in mind. I think fans would be okay with that. I think fans were upset with Blue Sky the last couple times because it was like the entire presentation.
Yeah. Well, that it was also whenever everybody was like, surely you're going to have an answer for Epic at this one. And then surely at this one, you're going to have an answer for Epic. I think I kind of agree with you. If you had substantive things you announce along with the Blue Sky, that could work. Yeah. But I agree. You probably, because the whole thing was Blue Sky and everyone's like, what are you doing? I mean, some of it came true, but I tend to agree with that.
And actually, to add on to what OG is saying is I love that idea and I give him full credit for that idea. I think that's genius if they leave a couple Blue Sky things towards the end of the presentation. I think if they want to explore that a little bit more, The next year, you have Destination D23, where you can add an extra day to that convention, where they can add a blue sky kind of, presentation. And I think that would kind of, maybe give Destination D23 a little more life than it actually has.
So like that's the blue sky one, and then the D23 Expo.
Well, like one of the days would be dedicated towards that, because, Jared, I don't know if you've gone to one before. I've talked to many people that have gone to Destination D23 multiple times, and they said it is not worth it at all.
To that point, I got offered. I had the ability to go for free, and I was like,
"Really?" And you declined it. See, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. That's the perfect example, and I'm glad you brought that up. Someone that's offered a free ticket is not willing to go.
It was one of those things where I had something else I needed to do. I could have moved it if I wanted to, and I was like, because I talked to a couple people who had gone before. They said the same thing. They're like, it's really not great. Then I was like,
I went 15 years ago. Will not be going back.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously 15 years ago, nothing pulls it in. I mean, in a counter argument to my own argument, although I can see Disney being hesitant to do that, because anything they say on a stage gets the fan base going. And even if they don't, maybe that morphs into something else. You did go on stage and say it. And I don't know where they're at with that. That would be the, I suppose, counter argument to that, is going on a stage, actually saying, this is what we're thinking about doing. That could open up a they may not want, but I would appreciate the honesty if they did, to be honest.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree with you more. But is it any better to have Jim Scholl, a former Imagineer, or the Rap speaking for your company and saying all this rhetoric online and lighting a match to a fire?
And that's interesting about Jim, because Vash, I think you and I did a video on this years ago. But Disney doesn't like the celebrity Imagineer. They don't like.
They really don't.
They don't. And I think that's a big. I think what Jim did with the Zootopia stuff. And again, no shade for Jim. Jim is just a passionate fan like we are. But sure. I'm looking at it from Disney's perspective. Like from Disney's perspective, they're going, this guy's giving us problems. He's a former Imagineer, so anything this guy says now has some weight to it. And now Jim says Zootopia, and now there's fans literally on Twitter today telling me, like, well, wait a minute, because Drew posted that they're going to give us Avatar news. And there were literally people on Twitter saying, well, wait a minute, I thought that was canceled for Zootopia. I'm like, there was no evidence at all for that. It was all from Jim, and people ran with it, right? Because they wanted that, probably.
Well, they also see former Imagineer in the title.
And they think he has all kinds of connections. And now there's like, oh my gosh, this must be inside information. Even though Jim said himself it wasn't, it doesn't matter. But Disney does not like the celebrity Imagineer because of that. Stuff like this leads to major headaches for them. Because now, because of all that mess, now they have to go to D23 and probably give a little more than they wanted to. Because now they got to clear that shit up. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Anyway, it's interesting.
Well,
it is interesting.
Yeah, Den Peterson actually makes a great point too. He says, to be fair to Jim, Jim isn't talking on behalf of Disney. He is just dreaming. And
it's right. Yeah,
I understand that, but
it's the perception of it, though.
The perception of it, and the fact that he worked for the company at a certain time of his career, people take different value.
Yeah, it'd be different if you, theme park conductor, made that theory and people go, oh, that's cool. But Jim Scholl, it does carry different weight than just any of us saying something. So I could see from the out, like, people that are kind of tangentially around this stuff being a little confused. You see it trending and you're like, wait a minute, I thought this wasn't a thing. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think it could be really interesting if maybe this is the beginning stages of what Damaro has in plan or has in mind for what he may do. Maybe it's a different direction. Maybe it's more forthright. We have seen with the earnings calls, to his credit, he's been much more forthright. Even admitted that movies failed. Even admitted Epic Universe multiple times was an impact on their attendance. Even took a shot at Universal, which I love. I want these companies to fight. I hate how the NBA now is like, oh no, we're friends. I liked it back when Jordan hated the Pistons, The Pistons hated him, and they were trying to just knock each other's teeth out. And then at the end of the game, you know, ideally, unless you're Isaiah Thomas, you shake hands and you go back and you say, hey, good game. We'll get you next time. That's what I want from these companies. I like competition, so I hope that is something that continues. I would like to see a level of that come into it. I like a little pettiness amongst companies a tad bit, if I'm being honest.
Oh, dude, I love it. I love the pettiness. I love it. But Kiki and Luca has an interesting question, right? Would you guys prefer Zootopia over Pandora? The one in Disney World's awesome. Zootopia would be another Kidland. Here's the thing. I think Pandora is more ambitious. And I think the reason why I push for Pandora at DCA is not because I love Avatar, because I don't. I like Zootopia as a franchise way more. But I think DCA needs some ambition. I think we need to have a little bit of ambition here. Zootopia feels like everything else at DCA. It literally does. It even looks like a Pixar property, even though it's not. And that whole park is Pixar. I mean, for me, I just want, this is incredible. And to have this in DCA and then walk a few feet away and have Cars Land is absolutely insane to me. That's in one park. That's what I want. Zootopia feels like Toontown or any of these other things. This needs to be in DCA, and it looks like it's going to be.
I'm not a big Zootopia or Pandora guy. So to me, I would probably rather, I agree with you. I'd probably rather have a land like a Pandora versus a land like Zootopia. But I'm also not in the age demo of a kid they may be trying to appeal to. But, and if Kiki and Luca's credit, Jabberwocky's right. Pandora is great in Disney's Animal Kingdom. It is. It's a great land. It's the best newer land they've done, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I will give it credit there. And Kiki and Luca's right. Pistons did not shake hands with the Bulls. They didn't, but especially Isaiah Thomas. But I'm okay with that too. If you don't want to shake hands and be enemies, hey, that's great.
But see, going back to Avatar, though, one of the things I do appreciate from Imagineering and James Cameron is the fact that the one in Animal Kingdom is one version. The one in DCA, as we're looking at pictures, it tells two different stories of the same IP, which I do appreciate. I don't want a Galaxy's Edge. I don't want that because there's no interest to it.
It's copy and paste. And here's the other thing too, because I've been in this community for such a long time. I remember the lead up to that Animal Kingdom Pandora. Nobody wanted that thing. What does this have to do with conservation? It's an alien planet and it's not even real animals. I remember all the crap on Twitter. And now it's the best thing ever. Now we're using that as the gold standard as to why they shouldn't do it in DCA.
Which it's very interesting. I always found how that all happens.
Right, Vash? And that's why I'm telling people just be open to this thing in DCA because it's probably going to be the same thing as it was over there. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, brother.
Well, sorry, Jared. I didn't mean to step on you a little bit. But I was at the 2011 D23 Expo when Pandora or Avatar was part of the Experiences Showcase. Then, right before, it was like 2 days before, 30 minutes were cut from the show. It's kind of weird. It's kind of interesting. Later on, it would be revealed that the deal between James Cameron and Disney, in order to get Avatar for the parks, couldn't be ironed out before the show. It was going to be announced at the show. It was announced like a month after or something like that, which is like shucks. But I do remember that conversation there, OG. Why are we doing this in Animal Kingdom? A lot of people wanted studios. And in fact, the company did want to be in studios. It was Tom Staggs at that time, who, by the way, was in talks to be the CEO there. He was the one that suggested, look, Animal Kingdom needs it. This is really a conservation story. Give it over to Joe Rohde. I'm sure Joe Rohde, James Cameron, and John Landau can figure something out. And sure enough, he did. One of the reasons why we're not getting a rehash of Pandora as it was conceived in Animal Kingdom is because a lot of those players are no longer with us. And because obviously the realm of Avatar has expanded considerably. So it is a continuation story. I do like that there is a difference right there. And to be honest, I mean, when you look at DCA, does it need another flight type simulator? No. It needs water desperately, badly.
It does. Now, real quick, conductor, real quick before you go, I just want to say this is like the funniest thing. Maybe says, I haven't been in forever. And of course, OG dissing my Zootopia land, my biggest op. Now, I am her biggest op. Absolutely. I'm the
biggest hater. I hate the
I am the biggest hater when it comes to Zootopia and DCA. No, in all seriousness, though, I actually do like the idea of it coming to DCA, but after we get Pandora. Go ahead.
Well, and before I forget, to your point, what I was going to say was, it's funny to me that people have those arguments about Animal Kingdom when Dinoland USA existed, when you had a carnival full of dinosaurs, as if this made any sense in that land. I'm like, okay, like I get the conservation angle, but like, come on, this park has not been like the portrait of just consistency of everything in here. You got
and it was supposed to have mythical creatures like dragons and stuff too.
I know. Yeah, exactly. So I always found that argument funny. I'm just like, well, explain Dinoland USA with the carnival. How does that fit in? How does whatever the spinning dinosaur ride make any sense? It was silly. I agree though. But sorry, conductor, go ahead.
No. I was just going to answer another comment from someone in the chat from Freedom Seeker. They mentioned the problem is no Joe Rohde to lead the DCA Pandora. That is somewhat true. Joe Rohde, as far as I'm sure. And Vash, please correct me, or gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong. He is advising.
Yeah.
He is a kind of advisor. He's not fully integrated into Imagineering, but
he's a consultant.
Exactly. So I guarantee you, when they start building Pandora in the Hollywood backlot for DCA, he is going to consult on that.
Well, he's going to be in the room for sure to some degree. I mean, not like a full timer, but you're right, like a consultant, right? But here's the other thing too. I think at some point we need to also like be able to break away from like certain individuals. It makes me feel uneasy when we tie like the entire project to like one person. Like only Joe Rohde can do a good job. Well, we don't have John Lasseter for Piston Peak right now, but that doesn't mean that Piston Peak won't be great still. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like you don't want everything to like ride or die on like one person. Like the whole fate of this whole franchise is on Joe Rohde's back. I don't want that. I want the comfort of knowing like the other Imagineers can handle it too. So anyway,
as long as you have a good minor league system of Imagineers coming up, that makes sense. I think the question though is the new crop of Imagineers up to that level, which I think there are real question marks about. To be honest,
Drew the Disney Dude has actually made this point as well, OG, about this, like the minor league system, like you said, Jared. One of the inhibitions of these legacy Imagineers, and I think Tony Baxter's relayed this in podcasts and so forth, is that you're always kind of working under the shadow or tutelage of these people, and you're not really given a chance to helm a large project when those forces are there. I think Drew the Disney Dude actually brought out the fact that the person working on Avatar DCA specifically had worked under Joe Rohde for a long, long time. So it's not like, it's not like his presence isn't felt, even if he's no longer there. Sure. You do at some point have to give these guys an opportunity. Jared, to your point, a lot of the long-time talent for Imagineering has gone away, and that's been most unfortunate. I think that's why they're developing AI systems in order to tap into 70 years of history and so forth, trying to overcome those issues. I think that's an acknowledgement there. But at the same time, these guys have developed, these guys have to be given the reins, and so they're being given this opportunity here to work on some of these projects. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be bad because those people are no longer with them. But I do understand the hesitancy and fully believing that, some of these projects coming out of Imagineering now will be as great as what has come before. The bar has been set high. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I've said many times, Disney set the bar of what to expect. And I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I hope it's great. But I think this is going to be one of those measuring stick moments where if they knock it out of the park with these things they're doing, then the next things that they do are not going to have near as much question marks around it. People are going to feel way more comfortable. But if this stuff doesn't deliver, that opens up a whole other can of worms.
It does.
And I would not envy Bruce, what's his name? Bruce Vaughn's job in that instance, if that's the case. But there is pressure, undoubtedly. I hope it's great. I hope Disney and Universal just knock everything out of the park and fight each other. That's what I want. I want UFC matches.
Let's go. Well,
Yeah.
and did you guys hear? And I know we're pushing 3 hours. I'm so sorry, but like, did you guys hear about the Toluca Lake drama where Universal's actually gonna build a couple more sound walls?
Yeah,
Yes.
makes some sense. I mean, look, Vash and I were talking before. It's like if you don't placate somewhat, you may need something from that city that they build later on, and if you don't try and appease them, that could burn you. I mean,
you can't be single step thinkers when it comes to this stuff, right? I think a lot of people are like, Toluca Lake, don't need them, but you might, and you had to have that forecasting. Remember, Disney tried to pull, throw its weight around in the 2010s a lot when it came to various projects. Unfortunately, did we ever see any of those? No. Now, some of those were folded into concepts like Disneyland Forward and so forth, but again, that was a delay of 10 plus years in some cases regarding a lot of those concepts and ideas. If you throw a bone to Toluca Lake now, if you in fact need to amend or update the filings of whatever has been approved before, well, it's a lot easier now that you've greased the palms today.
Yeah, I would agree there.
It makes sense, but I kind of see the argument for that, obviously, but I see the other side of the argument as well. It's the same thing with residents around Disneyland. Disneyland's been around since 1955. You chose yourself to live there. You chose to stay there. You chose to be near a theme park.
It's like living on a golf course and getting mad that golf balls are in your backyard all the time.
Exactly my point. You're choosing to put yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
Like those houses I can't even say because I'm getting worked up, but those houses, the resale value is probably astronomically high, so they can make profit off that if they wanted to. So it's not like they're completely stuck. And again, I'm just speaking for myself because I could be completely wrong. But I get so sick and tired of people going online or talking to news reporters and saying, oh, yeah, Universal's doing this. Oh, yeah, Disney's doing this. Again, you chose to live there. I'm sorry. I feel bad for you in some instance. But in a lot of other instances, I do not feel bad for you.
Well, and their property value is probably higher living next to this thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on that. And at the same time, I mean, Universal should be as respectful as they possibly can be. But they built sound walls. They have the cars programmed to face the other way. A lot of times they got these glass sound things on all the art. I'm not a coaster guy, the arches, whatever they're called, but it's like they did everything they were supposed to do.
Yes. And
they should just build the bubble like people think that exists at Disney. Put a dome under it and call it a day.
Call it a day. It's crazy, but it's wild. This thing though is nuts, man. I was here with Wizard and Almighty Coasters. I didn't ride it, of course, but we waited in the queue for it. And this thing, it like zooms past the queue and just like rattles the window. I mean, this thing is fast, bro. Like this thing is insane. Really, really crazy.
I'm excited for you guys for this. I think it'll be cool. And obviously Orlando's the track is laid, so they're moving along as well.
So I think the next step we're just waiting for the ride vehicles to show up and you guys start the pull through test.
Well, you got to also wait for the chains to show up in the.
But that's
you can't really do it until you christen the. Did they christen this ride with the golden chain? I'm just asking questions here.
Well, they should have. They didn't. They didn't.
The lack of Vin Diesel representation at this opening of this is worrisome to me.
Well, okay, you want to know something really funny? If you want to talk about christening gold chains here, we actually took some of the ride vehicles or the prop vehicles you guys had in the studios out there and incorporated it in the outdoor queue here. Like
we're gonna need those back, by the way.
Wow, sorry, no returns.
How dare you?
Sorry.
Well, either way, that'll be cool. I'm excited for that for you guys, but we are pushing almost 3 hours. It's been an awesome show. I looked up and realized it's almost 2.5 hours. I'm like, oh my gosh, we've been just talking away. It feels like it's only been an hour, but we'll probably wrap up here because it's almost midnight on my time, and I'm tired. So I probably, I did a little workout before the stream. We were a little late. My apologies on the stream starting because I was working out and I looked up and it was 8:35 and I was like, oh, I gotta hurry. So really quickly. So that was my bad on the late start here. But no, it's been great. We do have a couple of super chats we're gonna wrap up with here. I got Stu My Rick with 200 jewels. Says Sunshine. Thank you, Stu My Rick, for the multiple jewel drops. And Cliff Flicks. What's up, Cliff? For a 10.
Yes.
Says, how much of this week's D23 announcements will have actual, real, and solid green lit budgets earmarked for them? Is there a severe disconnect between WDI and Disney finance in recent years?
I gotta say, in fairness, and maybe I'm missing something, but in fairness, a lot of the stuff that was canceled or pulled back from was like stuff that was announced in and around the pandemic. Like, sure. I can't really think of too many, like even, Epcot, that whole thing was pandemic. I always say pandy. I always get crap for it.
You get so much hate when you say pandy.
Every single time. But like the Epcot was pandemic. The Avengers, the 14 different versions of that ride was pandemic.
Exactly.
I think that Main Street Theater that you guys were going to get in Florida that they canceled, that was, I think, pandemic. And the Mary Poppins.
That was before.
That was before. And they broke ground. I got word. So that was funny. They broke ground. And Vash, you might have more details on this. That was a cast member parking lot, I believe. They broke ground on it. And then I knew a cast member at the time texted me. They went to work that morning and said the theater's off. And I was like, what do you mean? And then she's like, no, it's off. Like, they're not doing it. And like, it was a couple of days later. And they ghosted that thing and acted like they never made an announcement about it. Like, if you asked about it today, they'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it was the weirdest thing. They just completely silently, kind of similar to the monorails. The monorails were a go, according to Bob Gurr. And then around that same time, that got cut too.
Yes. It's now, Vash, was it 2017's D23 for that Main Street Theater, or was it 2019? I forgot.
Yes, I think it was 2017's.
Okay,
it was 2017's.
Gotcha.
It's part of the Chapek era. That's how you know that it was around that time, and they announced it. And from what I understand, it was soil quality that was the concern there, and that's just what undid that, and never again. I guess is the thing there. No, I mean, Jesse Morrow recently had at the earnings call. He was questioned about investments and how I believe the exact quote was, I can say that our capital investments, all of them, they go through very rigorous evaluations and are supported by clear and well-defined return expectations, obviously that being ROI or return on investment, right? Usually these things are given solid budgets, and it's up to the discretion of Burbank whether or not those budgets get increased over time, or if there are cost overruns and so forth, or unforeseen things that happen that take a little bit, that cost a little bit more than what was originally forecast, and maybe equates to a degradation of the quality of that experience on the back end. I know that's happened with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge back in the day. We were supposed to get a restaurant. It was supposed to happen. And then Rise of the Resistance starts taking up a bunch of money. And then at that point it was Project Big Bird, but Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run started getting a bunch of costs and so forth associated with that. And it was like, okay, well, we really want to do the restaurant. Are we going to be able to do the restaurant? Can we get additional budget to do so? And Chapek said, you can do the restaurant all you want. You're not getting a single dime for it.
Oh, my
gosh. The restaurant was cut.
Wasn't Oga's the like waiting area for the restaurant supposedly, and they just made that into a lounge?
The Oga's Cantina is the lounge for the restaurant.
Yeah. Now, real quick, Candy Camper is so funny. Are you going to Disney bound as Rafiki?
There he goes.
There he goes.
And is off. He's off the rocker again in here. No,
it's after hours. He gets.
That's true. It is late. Yeah, after hours. Candid. He's kind of like a gremlin. You get him up too late, and the opinions go. You never know where it's going to fly.
Exactly.
And then we also have a 5 here from Theme Parkin Things. Can anyone do the measurements of Super Nintendo World in Hollywood compared to the Hollywood backlot in DCA? Are they the same size? I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think it was Den who who did the measurements. I can pull it out. Let me see. Where was that?
I saw Den have some sort of. I saw measurements, and I wasn't sure what he was talking about.
I think Den said the Hollywood backlot was like 250,000 square feet.
Oh, this one. Rise is 130,000. Pandora and DAK is 465,000.
I think there was. Oh, here it is. Super Nintendo World is 100,000 square feet, and Pandora without Hyperion is 250,000.
There you go.
Ooh.
Yeah,
So
it's a much larger area. And by the way, too, a lot of the area to the north will be absorbed as well by Pandora. So it's a pretty large footprint.
Yeah,
it's deceiving because there's a bunch of big, massive sound stages cluttering the area. But when they start taking those things down, it's going to really open up.
But I do like OG's point though. I think another shoe's going to drop.
I think so.
It's bound to happen.
I can feel it, bro.
I think there's a few things that that whole thing about tampering expectations. It kind of leads me to think that that's a move you would do if you're a savvy marketer. You're like, a little bit.
You're trying to play it off before.
Yeah, it's like you're gonna tell your wife, like, we're getting a new car. I'm just gonna listen. It's gonna be whatever, and then you show her a Lexus or something, and it's like, oh my good, it's like that could be, or it could be real, and they're just like, listen, we're not doing.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Do you guys remember Transformers, the first movie, where the dad is driving Sam through the car lots? And he drives right through the Porsche one, and Sam thinks he's going to get a Porsche.
Oh, yeah. And he got Bumblebee, which I'm still, by the way, I think Transformers are real, and I'm just waiting to find one, personally speaking.
There you go.
Kiki and Lucas says here that Candid is going to have a show right after this. So everyone should check out Candid Camper, Theme Park Thoughts. He's awesome. We love him.
Is he going live after this?
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go check out Candid. If I could, I can't, I would direct the stream there, but I don't think I'm set up to do that for his channel. But if that goes in the future, Candid, hit me up and we'll set that up where we can do that in the future. But no, this has been great. And thank you guys in the chat. You guys have been awesome. Thank you guys for the super chats. You guys were very generous, and it's always appreciated, never expected. We had X Voot, we had Kiki and Luca with some member messages. We had Gordon Grubbs joined OG55 member. We had Elijah M20. Now I'm an unk. I don't know what that means, but maybe it's good. I don't know. Maybe it's bad. Who knows? It's the internet. Stu My Rick. We had Mouseword Bound. Theme Park Conductor gifted, 5 theme park conductor memberships. Ill Magic with a couple of 5s. Water Autism. You had Cliff Flicks there. Theme Park and Things. Kiki and Lucas. So thank you guys very much. Everybody in the chat. This is apparently unk is good. Okay, I'll take it.
There you go.
I'm just going to assume. I assume it's good no matter what. At least that you're getting a reaction. I guess that's the point of the internet on some level. But no, you guys. In this show, honestly, like, it's fun doing it with us because we just chat about this stuff all the time. But you guys in the chat make it a lot more fun. And thank you, Din in here also had some nice words. If I can find it, chat's moving so quick. I can't find it. I don't think. Anyways, here we go. It said it was an awesome live stream, guys. Jared, OG, Conductor, and Vash are so much fun. Appreciate that. And thank you guys very much.
Thank
you guys,
you,
of course. Before we get out of here, though, let everybody know where you can check them out. Orange Grove 55. Thank you, as always, for being here. Yes. You're going to be at D23 coming up, along with Theme Park Conductor. Where can they all find you to follow along on your adventures?
Yes. No, thank you so much. And everyone in the chat, Cliffix, Kiki and Luca, Maybe Cakes, John Make It Rain, Den, everybody. It was a really, really fun conversation. To our 2-hour and 53-minute crew, we love you. We made it. We are here. But you can find us right here. You can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking shop with these guys all the time. You can also find me on Instagram and on X, Orange Grove 55. And again, Jared, I want to give you a big thank you for being an amazing host, as always.
Thank you. I just, I'm used to managing kids, so I just, trying to keep order. Just yell. I just yell at my kids. Sometimes you got to have that dad voice, like, "Hey, what are you doing in there?" Nothing. Like, okay. I don't have to do that on here though. Sometimes in the chat, but Vash, thank you as always for being here as well. Where can everybody find you over there at the Vash Sky Park Cast, and what do you got going on this week in the lead up to D23?
Absolutely. Talking certainly about predictions, certainly about what we think is going to happen at D23. The experiences showcase right there should be very interesting. The whole theme park amusement industry is watching that with great interest, I will say. But tomorrow, before that, we have a story coming out of the Wilderness Lodge. Oh, the Wilderness Lodge, everybody's favorite Eisner era resort hotel over there in Seven Seas Lagoon Bay Lake right there. Imagine paying $700 a night to stay there and you had no water. We'll be going over it and so many more stories that have been percolating through the theme park world. That being tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. Following that Park Place, by the way, if you're already watching, you'll be redirected magically to there. And on Thursday, I want to go ahead and have Theme Park Wizard on. I want to have him on to talk about some of the stuff going on with Fast and the Furious and what we can expect in terms of updates regarding that experience right there, if it's going to be delayed in its opening, what kind of capacity issues we're talking about. There's a whole lot more going on beneath the surface I want to go ahead and pick his brain about. So that'll be at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. I know last week we didn't have Bash and Vixen, couldn't actually be performed. That's on me. But for Saturday, we should have a great day of content. I want to go ahead and have some kind of stream going, whether it be on that Park Place or on the Vash Sky Parkcast, covering the Experiences Showcase. I'll be in talks with Pro and everybody else there in order to coordinate that, but expect a big day on Saturday. And I don't know, maybe Orange OG will call in or something, or Jared will call in. I don't know. We'll do something, but it'll be very, very cool. So thank you so much, Theme Park Conductor, OG, Jared, for having me on. This was an excellent show.
Very fun.
I might be doing on the ground reporting from Universal AP nights. Let know how that is, but yeah, there will be a live stream I think on Sunday. We'll work that out, but we'll have some reaction. There'll be a lot of covering of what they announced at D23, which maybe who knows if it's a whole lot, may cover multiple live streams. You never know on that. But Theme Park Conductor, thank you for coming on here. Always appreciate it, and you'll be back on here this week as well. But we'll have plenty of things to talk about as well in this. But where can they all find you out there and the lead up to D23?
Absolutely. Well, I want to give a big shout out to you, Jared. Always kind of like what OG said, always being an amazing host, having a great time, great conversation with Vash, with you, Jared, with Orange Grove 55. It's always a pleasure to be on a Theme Parkin live stream. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor, on X at Theme Conductor, TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1, and every Sunday at 5 or 7 p.m. for Conductor Sunday live stream, where we have had all three of these gentlemen on. It was a wild conversation. I can't wait to do it again, especially after D23, because there's going to be a lot of interesting, spicy topics to go over, especially if they're lacking on some details. You're really going to see me go off the rails on that one. But starting tomorrow, I will be down in Anaheim. I'm going to be doing the D23 Angels game. So I will be at Angel Stadium starting tomorrow. And days after, I will be at D23 at Disneyland for D23. Then I will be on the showroom floor at the Convention Center and the Honda Center. So if you see me, you see Orange Grove 55, please come up to us. Please say hello. Yeah. And who knows, you might catch OG at the right time, just when Josh tomorrow is right in the area, and you might get that lightning in the bottle moment where they take a photo together.
You never know.
Dreams so much hair in that photo. How are you guys going on?
there's a lot of hair in that. There might be too much hair. We might have to,
you're gonna walk up and be like, Vidal Sassoon. You're like, oh, how did you know? Yeah, you guys just gonna have hair.
I have to add one more little spiel to my outro. Theme Park Wizard will be on location as well, so I cannot wait to hang out with him, because it's also going to be his first time at D23 alongside with me. So I am more than excited.
That's a lot of West Coast in one building, Conductor. I don't know, man.
West Coast. By the way, I saw Wizard made his X handle Permit Wizard. Was that I made that? Was that from me? I'm not trying to take credit, but I threw it out there. I was like, he should call himself Permit Wizard. I saw it on there, and I'm like, wait, did he do it? Because I think that's a great name. He's always up on those permits. So shout out to Wizard.
Oh, he is.
Shout out to Wizard. We'll get him on there. Well, if you guys are not watching here on my channel, you can find me at Captain Magic. Very similar things about Disney World stuff, and we'll be doing lots of coverage of D23. And if you're looking for some, Disney World, Universal Studios in park, reviews and things going on that are, just food items and things like that, all sorts of new stuff going on in the park, you can check out CTM Podcast with my wife and I. We just did an episode Vash, you might like this one. All of the yesteryear attractions at Universal Orlando, not islands, but
Ooh.
how much stuff was there. There, like, it's interesting. Back when they had the what was it? The swamp thing where Men in Black is. That used to just be like nothing. It was just a set that was there. It's kind of wild when you see all the like had a Murder She Wrote show back in the day. It was kind of wild. So we went through and checked that out. Yeah, I can go check that out there. But no, it's a lot of fun. And go over and be kind of nice to Candid. Go check out Candid. I can't direct you over there because we don't have that set up yet. I'll work on that. But go check out Candid. Keep him company. Kind of be nice to him. If he gets crazy, just push back on him a little bit. He's got to have somebody to argue with and just be those people. A little bit, so.
I mean, he's great because he gets on my channel and he's like, "Yeah, I just bulldoze Small World."
What? I wish he just had more opinions. To be quite honest, he
needs to come out of his shell. He's kind of shy, bro.
He's a little shy. Yeah, he's really worried about what people think about him. So it's one of those things, But no, it'll be a fun week this week, and we will see you guys next week for sure. Be sure. I think on Friday, Conductor and I have a live stream, or maybe a bit. We'll figure out something on Friday with Conductor and I, and then all the D23 stuff. So be on the lookout there. And thank you guys for hanging out. We will see you on the next one. Have a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you later. See you guys. Bye.
See ya.